And welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Live. I'm Robert McNeely, and there is a shot of the West Wing as President Trump is looking to meet with the King of Jordan today at the White House. A very special meeting. I assume it will have a lot to do with what was discussed last week with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, a meeting with President Trump regarding a number of different policy announcements, including the potential relocation of 1.8 million Palestinians. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. If you've been joining us earlier, you're watching a subcommittee hearing on the IRS, and I think regardless of line of questioning, whether it be from Republicans or even Democrats, very essential that DOJ is in place to have an independent third party to overview the gross negligence of the federal government, because there are a couple of moments there where Congressman making points as to how do they present these budgets back to their constituencies regarding different scorings on different bills, whether that was the Job Tax Cut Act back in 2017 or the Inflation Reduction Act. Of course, two different administrations, two different agendas, but still the OMB struggling with scoring those bills appropriately. So having someone like Elon Musk to oversee this is a great step in the new direction, and definitely something President Trump is using outside of the box thinking in order to get these problems solved. And I'm sure we'll see some of that today as the King of Jordan meets with President Trump. And this guy is really pretty amazing. He is a fighter pilot and actually led raids against ISIS against his kingdom as well. So someone who has defended Jordan as a true servant leader in every sense of the word, as President Trump is that citizen servant leader here in the United States. So I'm very excited to see what they have to discuss. I'm sure many different issues facing the Middle East, but you see this proactive nature of President Trump. It's meeting after meeting after meeting with key allies and people he needs to dialogue with in order to make the peace through strength agenda successful. And now we are in 22 days of the new administration, and we're seeing that on a daily basis. I'd like to thank our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting, Colonial Metals Group. You want to get this free guide to gold and silver. Some great patriots in this book endorsing this wonderful company, and that is Judge Janine Pirro, Ed Henry, and Larry Kudlow. Just a few of many who want you to protect your financial future, whether that's sending the kids off to college or protecting for retirement. Go ahead, scan that QR code there, shield your savings now, because whether it's properties or assets, 401ks or IRAs, you have to have gold, silver, precious metals in order to protect your portfolio. So this is some exclusive offers happening right here at Right Side Broadcasting. Protect your life's work with gold and silver tax-free. And then this is a no-obligation guide as well to give you the best options on how to go about that. So scan that QR code, shield your savings now, and Colonial Metals Group here to support Right Side Broadcasting. Thank you so much for that. And of course, we had interviewed the wonderful CEO Paul Stone just last week, and he really spelled it out so well. When you have inflation skyrocketing, the last administration, who was sending billions and billions overseas, especially to Ukraine, how does that not harm your dollar? In addition to that, the Saudi Arabians now investing $6 billion into the United States, and thank God, because in the last administration they went off the petrodollar in order to trade with oil and gas, instead going to the yen and other BRICS nations in order to do their business. So there's a live shot there for you outside of the West Wing. President Trump to meet with King Abdullah II of Jordan at the White House, and he should be accompanied by one of the crown princes as well. And this is a really an interesting gentleman. Again, I had mentioned earlier, a fighter pilot and someone who was very much at odds with the Obama administration and the Biden administration, but a moderate Muslim wanting to do work with the Western world in order to make the world a more peaceful place, especially his neck of the woods in the Middle East. I'm sure President Trump will bring up the potential relocation of 1.8 million Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, as you mentioned last week with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This has been a decimated area. It's just completely destroyed. It's the homeland for so many people, whether Arab or Jew or Christian. But we've seen what Hamas has done to this by starting a war with Israel on October 7th of 2023. They were then attacked by Hezbollah to the north in Lebanon, and of course the Houthi rebels funded by the Iranian regime. So it's good to have Arab partners in the region seeking peace, seeking to help protect Israel and advance their values, as well as there are some, differences, but also shared values between the Kingdom of Jordan and the State of Israel. So President Trump has championed the peace through strength with the Abraham Accords, also bringing the embassy to Jerusalem, also recognizing the Golan Heights, and all things that were supported by His Majesty King Abdullah II in order to bring peace to the region. So we are awaiting his visit to the West Wing. And this is a very interesting thing, too. I'm reading some notes on him. He's actually considered the 41st generation direct descendant of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. So it's very interesting to see this goes back generations and generations in this kingdom. I'm told as well one of the most beautiful places to visit in the world, including the lost city of Petra, which you might recognize from Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. So maybe a worthwhile trip to make over the summertime, and especially a worthwhile trip to make it to Washington, D.C., and to see your beautiful White House, because President Trump has really swung that door open for you to go and visit and to engage your government. This is someone who on a regular basis mentions that he wants the American people involved, and I've seen it firsthand through many speeches, whether it be rallies or even addressing young people, that he constantly has on his mind his successors and leaving this nation more peaceful, more prosperous than ever before, truly embarking on the creation of a golden era in America. And we see that happening on a daily basis now. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, doing an amazing job putting out the MAGA Minute. If you haven't caught that, go check that on social media, because she'll go through different talking points, only 60 seconds of your time, and it completely eviscerates the fake news. So in December of 2024, Army recruitment hit a 15-year high with the anticipation of President Trump's second term. And we saw earlier today in the broadcast Secretary Pete Hegseth in Brussels, Belgium, addressing military members and speaking on the meritocracy and keeping the military battle ready to make a massive difference for our fighting forces, domestic and abroad. I'd like to thank our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting, of course, RepublicanRed.com. I have to reach over for this bottle here, but the 4547, a great red blend. And what I love so much about this high-class, high-quality wine, all family run and operated out of Lodi, California, in the Central Coast. There's a toast on each and every bottle. So with the many shades of red, whether you are proudly recognizing the red wave or not, you are new to red wine, whatever it might be, Republicans come together one glass at a time. So join us in giving a voice to the silent majority. I'll grab over this champagne as well. A little bit further of a stretch, but I got it there for you. And the golden age of America, we've taken the House, the Senate, and put our champion in the White House. Let's raise a glass to the red wave and the power of American patriotism. The best is yet to come. And it truly is. I mean, this is a golden era, and why not toast to it with RepublicanRed.com, promo code RSBN. It's always exciting to have a Wine Wednesday, or maybe even a celebration, or maybe for the holidays, bring that over to your liberal friend and educate them on the principles of MAGA. So that's always fun to consider, and I've definitely brought some of those bottles over to left of center friends, and that's important, as we were talking earlier on the broadcast with Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, And they had a moment of time where they lost their friendship, but then rekindled before their death on the same day, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, which they penned to paper. Don't remove yourself from a relationship simply based on philosophy, especially political ideology. But back to Caroline Leavitt, her amazing job as White House press secretary, just putting out some notes as well in the MAGA Minute, if you catch that on Instagram or Truth, perhaps X, or even on Facebook. Men in women's sports executive order banned men from competing against women. Hours later, the NCAA began enforcing it. And how special was that from the East Room to see all the young girls and the young ladies surround President Trump. And that's where he really highlights his best vocational calling as a father, as a grandfather. At the end of the day, this man truly loves his family and loves his country and wants to put this set of 20 promises into practice because it's common sense at the end of the day. It's not necessarily Republican or Democrat. It's just simply making America better through a populist movement with taxpayer dollars. Streamlining USAID, we know that Secretary of State Marco Rubio is the acting director of that agency after it was uncovered a massive scandal. Just the amounts of money it was giving to things like funding Iraqi sex changes, LGBTQ activism in Guatemala and other countries as well. There was $70,000 given to Ireland in order to produce a DEI transgender musical. I don't see what that helps with American foreign policy, but Politico receiving over $8 million. And President Trump mentioning at the prayer breakfast last week, oh, nice to see Politico here. I hope you're enjoying your breakfast. So again, he brings that humor to a rather serious topic. Now, the tariffs proposed on Chinese, Canadian, and Mexican imports, some of the Canadian and Mexican tariffs have been put on hold with the new agreement to put more troops on the border, whether they be Mexican or Canadian. And additionally, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's commitment of $200 million US to stopping the fentanyl trafficking from Mexican cartels that happen to be in his country. Also, those designated as foreign terrorist organizations. Thank you to President Trump. On the economy, the Sovereign Wealth Fund plan has been laid out to better invest $5 trillion in United States assets. Pretty extraordinary. Not many countries necessarily have this, but we know of some like Switzerland and Egypt that have these massive wealth funds and really protect their currency and their ability when it comes to free and fair trade. President Trump putting America first. And the biggest success, perhaps, of them all is immigration. As of today, the illegal migrant encounters are down 87% on the border. The transferring has begun of the worst criminals to Guantanamo Bay. We saw those flights go out last week. And ICE has arrested 11,000 criminals in the last 18 days, and we're 22 days into this new administration. You know, as I say with the Mr. Magnificent Matthew Alvarez on a regular basis, oh my goodness gracious. This feels like it's been years and years, but in a good way. So many amazing things happening in such a short period of time in order to make America great again. And it's nice for a change to have a president who keeps his promises. And we saw this in the last administration with Joe Biden, how he would sit there. And of course, there was a cognitive decline that was confirmed by Speaker Mike Johnson and others simply in meeting with him. Not remembering what he signed or thinking he signed something else and clearly was being controlled by the people around him. But Joe Biden claimed that he had to legally look into securing the border. It might not be within the purview of the American presidency. President Trump proved that was incorrect with his executive orders, designated the foreign terrorist organizations of Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and the border cartels are now in that category. So the U.S. military, Marines, Army Corps of Engineers, ICE, and Border Patrol all can do their jobs, including state and local officials. We saw that Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, on the ground doing those excellent ICE raids in New York City. And again, these are the worst of the worst people. They're involved in trafficking and child pornography and crimes against humanity. I mean, this terrible stuff that is happening in our own backyard. But The free reign of crime is coming to an end here in America, thanks to President Trump, his due diligence, and his cabinet picks. Speaking on the updates with the cabinet picks, we are looking for a time here where Tulsi Gabbard is being voted on today, yes, at the Senate. So I'm just searching for an actual time for that to happen. We'll hopefully go there for you if that does come up in and of itself. If you were watching earlier, the United States House Committee on Ways and Means had a subcommittee hearing on IRS investment and the need for modernization, and really both sides of the aisle laying it out very clear how important that is in the coming days, weeks, and months. And President Trump tasking Elon Musk with so much of that work to streamline the size and scope of the government. You might have also caught earlier today as well the House GOP leadership, the conference, having a press conference and stating that if people want to work in the federal government, they actually have to show up for work. How important is that? And what a concept. But we know that 60,000 plus workers have left thanks to President Trump's promise. If they want to walk away and get somewhat of an 8-month stipend of work, they can walk out of the government. This is an effort to streamline that size and scope of government. And the House GOP leadership laying it out very clearly, the importance to do all of this in order to make America function on a healthy level again, especially from the federal government's perspective. And you might have also seen our Vice President, J.D. Vance, in Paris, France for the AI Action Summit. So lots going on today. Want to thank our sponsors, Tax Network USA, with April 15th right around the corner. You want to settle your back taxes today. Protect yourself from the IRS. We know the Biden administration brought in over 80,000 new agents. And how scary is that for them to look into your lives? And we just heard that subcommittee, how inefficient the IRS is at times. So settle your back taxes now. Make sure you're not overpaying. Talk to the Patriot experts over at Tax Network USA. And you can find them at tnusa.com/RSBN or call 800-357-1415. That's 800-357-1415. Visit tnusa.com/RSBN. Thank you to Tax Network USA. And there's a live shot. If you're just joining us now, it's about 10 minutes before noon on the East Coast and 10 minutes before 9 in the morning if you're on the West Coast. I'm Robert McNeely. We're looking forward to King Abdullah II of Jordan, ready to meet with President Trump on a whole host of issues. I'm sure a massive follow-up regarding the meeting last week between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump, and the announcement from the East Room that they are planning to relocate 1.8 million Palestinians temporarily into perhaps Jordan, maybe Egypt. At least up to this date, that was not the case, but maybe that will change now as His Majesty will meet with our 47th Commander-in-Chief. And what I do love about the pomp and circumstance here, you see the American flag, the Jordanian flags, but as we pan out across the way there in the fence, you will see the Eisenhower Executive Office building. And that's when you hear the White House says this, that, or whatever it might be, an official document or consent or statement, it's usually coming from that building. And on the second floor there is the Vice President's office that overlooks the West Wing. His motorcade also sits out there as well. So if you have not been to the White House, you will see that, and that's part of the campus. So when you hear the White House, that does include the very ornate Eisenhower building right there. But we see some of our state's flags as well, and they're mostly folded up here, but I'm trying to catch a few. I think I see Texas there. There's Tennessee for sure. I think Georgia right ahead of me, but it's always fun. I'm kind of a geographical and political and historical nerd if you've been following us for a period of time here. So I like to indulge in the history of what these flags mean and this great union that we have of 50 states and countless territories that make up the United States of America. You think about that. Oh, there's Ohio there, of course, the native state of really the king of producing presidents and vice presidents, and that includes our 50th vice president, J.D. Vance, who hails from the Buckeye State of Ohio. And you will see this lined up with Air Force officials, Marines, and usually sailors as well, along with other members of the military in the respective branches. And looks like kind of an overcast day today in the nation's capital, but President Trump is meeting with King Abdullah II of Jordan. And I'm sure the top of the priority list, how do we handle this situation with Gaza post-war as this comes to a close? Also, perhaps maybe get some pressure on Hamas because they have backed out of the ceasefire as of right now. They claim that Israel has violated the terms and therefore will not release the hostages come Saturday. President Trump said if the hostages are not released by noon on Saturday, and it's noon Eastern time here in stateside, he will unleash hell and all hell will break loose. So something that I'm sure wants to be prevented ultimately. King Abdullah II is a warrior in and of himself. He is a fighter pilot and has led raids against ISIS. He is a moderate Muslim. He's a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad and the 41 generations later, and is someone who has, in goodwill, tried to bridge gaps between Arabs, Jews, and Christians in the region. So someone who's committed to peace, someone who is very pro-Western and shares many of the ideals of the American experiment. So a beautiful country as well to visit, especially Petra, that you might recognize the famous last scenes in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So it's something that it's worth noting and celebrating as the two leaders get together. And this isn't it great to see another president here, President Trump, who is willing to meet on a regular basis with so many important world leaders. He is not afraid to engage face to face. They're always happy to come to Washington and dialogue in such a way that is constructive and ideally provides peace for this war-torn area. We know on October 7th of 2023, Hamas terrorists attacked innocent concert goers, and they were American citizens, they were Israeli citizens, and citizens from other nations, mostly of a Jewish background. And many of these people held hostage for over 1 year in the most barbaric ways and tortured. And it's good to see that those released thus far, back with their families, back in medical care as well, and seemingly doing very healthy. But as King Abdullah has recognized, as President Trump has recognized, this killing in the name of God has to stop. And Israel has been hit from every direction imaginable, and they have held off the terrorist savages in such a heroic and extraordinary way as President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and I'm sure King Abdullah, calling on the release of all these hostages immediately. We know that Hezbollah attacked from the north of Israel through Lebanon, and Israel had to do many operations in Lebanon itself in order to keep its northern border safe. And that's been the struggle, as well as many from the north have actually moved down to Jerusalem for refuge. And for Israel to survive, they need to get those agricultural experts, those farmers, those ranchers, back up there in the northern part of the country. Where I was living just before I moved down here to Auburn, Alabama, the mayor of Sandy Springs, Georgia, Rusty Paul, a wonderful man, very pro-Israel, went on an international trip, bipartisan, with 13 other mayors across the country, from Maine to California, and a little bit of everywhere in between in the lower 48. Went over there to survey the damage, and last summer I sat in on a presentation, and it made your stomach churn. And it's photographs after what took place, but they went into specific detail of people who were aware of Hezbollah and Hamas and even the Houthi rebels who came in and attacked, all funded by Iran and their regime. They would have safe houses in these areas because they know that being close to the Lebanon border, they weren't necessarily safe. And some people literally were held in these safe houses until they were smoked out by the enemy and either starving. It was many hours of an attack. Another woman feared for her life, so much so she actually was making food in the middle of the chaos for the Hamas rebels to actually enjoy a meal. Can you imagine that? Being threatened because simply of your cultural background as a Jew, and then you invite them in your home because it's 5 against 1, and you're an elderly grandmother and you make them traditional Middle Eastern cuisine. I mean, think about how insane that is. What these people have had to go through. There are bullets going through buildings, and it's images that the mainstream media simply did not show after that massacre on October 7th, that coordinated attack. So I'm sure all of this will be on the table in important discussions with King Abdullah today, His Majesty from Jordan, and also President Trump, our great servant leader. I mean, think about this. 10 years ago, he comes down this golden escalator with our beautiful First Lady, Melania Trump, and he said, I'm going to make America great again. And think about what they've been through as a family, fake impeachments, assassination attempts, the lawfare. I mean, Don Jr. and Eric Trump alone have probably been subpoenaed more than any other human beings on the face of the earth over a big nothing burger, over the devaluing of their company. And you have a crazy attorney general in New York and these DAs across the country. Some of them have lost because of what they did, of not going after criminals properly, but instead running to go after Trump and get Trump. And I'm literally quoting some of them. And they attempted to do that, and many of them were their cases either thrown out or some that not necessarily disbarred, but have been gotten big slaps on the wrist because they've gone outside the purview of jurisprudence. And our DAs should not be politicized. We've heard extensively on this from Alan Dershowitz. We're one of the only Western countries that actually elects our district attorneys and our state's attorneys. And some of them, instead of representing the people and being the community prosecutor, have instead played politics and gone after a duly elected sitting president of the United States before, during, and after he's in office. So I can harp about that for days and days. And you all know, the great patriots watching this show, that we will talk about the truth, expose the truth, and also celebrate the wonderful victories that have happened recently, especially the release of political prisoners, whether that be J6 political prisoners or those 23 pro-life protesters outside the Planned Parenthood. Many of these people in solitary confinement and did not receive access to a speedy trial nor proper legal representation are free because of President Trump's pardons and commutations. So thanks be to God for that. And we want to thank our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting. American Finance doing an amazing job at keeping you financially sound, saving an average of $800 per month for homeowners. And think about this. If you are to reach out to them today, a 10-minute no obligation call, they could actually delay the next 2 payments. So you're thinking about $1,600 in savings over the course of the next 2 months, just before tax day on April 15th. So that's important. But Americans still having kitchen table problems. A lot of us are carrying really high credit card balances that charge us 20% or more each and every month. So it's time to get rid of those. Homeowners, if you've been waiting to figure out how to do just that and get your finances in order, please call my friends over at American Financing today. Again, their consultants and professionals know so much about property taxes, state taxes, federal income taxes as well. So give them a call today. King Abdullah II, His Majesty of Jordan, is outside.
Mr. President, are you confident the King will back your plan for the Palestinian people? Will you cut off aid to Jordan if he's not on board, Mr. President?
Mr. President, is Saturday still your deadline for Hamas, sir? Sir, is Saturday still your deadline for Hamas? Do you think they'll listen to you?
Are you confident you can get the King on board with your plan for the Palestinian people?
He's a great man.
Will you cut off aid to Jordan if he doesn't, sir?
That's good. Great. Where's the mic? Good job, Mac.
Thank you.
And that was President Trump with His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan and his son as well, the Crown Prince of Jordan. And a beautiful family, a lovely family in their own right, as the Trumps are looking for bilateral conversations and peace through strength in the region. And again, King Abdullah, quite a warrior himself. He is a trained fighter pilot and actually led raids against ISIS. This is during the Obama administration before President Trump got in the first term and completely decimated ISIS. But some of his top leadership, actually, King Abdullah said, "Sir, we can't lose you. You know, you're the king of our country." And he said, "I have to lead my people and defend my people." So that's that kind of lion courage that you hope to see in leaders. But American Finance, again, just wanted to give you the number and website of where you can contact these great Patriot experts to make sure that you are saving an average of $800 per month and potentially postponing the next 2 payments on your mortgage. All it takes, a 10-minute no obligation call. If you start today, you can delay those. So give my friends American Financing today a call at 888-402-0299. That's 888-402-0299, AmericanFinancing.net/RSBN. And thank you for sponsoring us here on the right side of history. And we are going to go to a quick commercial break, but stick with us as it's just after noon o'clock on the East Coast in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. We'll be back with you on the other side.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
And we're back with the magnificent Matthew Alvarez. Thank you for joining me, sir. I'm Robert McNeely. As President Trump currently hosting a bilateral meeting with the King of Jordan at the White House. This will be an exciting day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of Middle East policy to talk about, especially on the heels of the discussions about Gaza. I mean, I heard your reporting, and it's something. It's 1.8 million Gazans, correct?
Yes, the Palestinians who might be relocated. We know that President Trump talked about this to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last week, but as of last week, the Jordanian Majesty was not interested in potentially relocating. That might change, though, based on this meeting.
Exactly. So as you just saw on your screen, President Trump with King Abdullah II and the Crown Prince Al Hussein bin Abdullah as well. We might get that Oval Office picture too. Always good to see everybody, the world leaders. This is now the third trip now from foreign leaders to the White House, right?
Right. I mean, it's been back to back to back, and it's becoming rather iconic and regular to see President Trump greeting them outside of the West Wing. Of course, that's flanked with military branches, the Air Force, sailors, and Marines, with our state flags, and of course, the respective flags of the visiting nations and our beautiful American flag.
Exactly. So if we see that live picture or a recorded one where it's moments ago, it's still good to see our Commander-in-Chief meeting with world leaders. We're also told Secretary of State Marco Rubio will attend President Trump's meeting with the Jordanian king at the White House. And this meeting marks the first official encounter between the two leaders at the White House since the recent Hamas-Israel ceasefire agreement. And notably, we're told the king will be the first Arab leader, of course, to meet with President Trump during his second term. So, we're seeing a lot of as much peace as possible, when it comes to nations that, to your point earlier, you were saying, that believe in a lot of American principles in the sense of, safety and peace and the people.
And what's so interesting about King Abdullah himself, His Majesty, I did not know this. I was actually just reading earlier that he is the 41st generation since the Prophet Muhammad. So for Muslims, that's something that's very, intrinsic on the legacy and the lineage of their people in this region and for many Arabs. But here's a man who's very moderate and wants cooperation with everybody. He believes in everyone being welcomed, whether they are Christians, Jews, or Muslims, into different areas. So very pro-Western, loves the United States, and a warrior king. Truly, I mean, a great fighter pilot, one of the finest warriors that we've seen out there. And his military tried to get him to stand down against those ISIS raids back when he was begging President Obama, I need help with this. Please, please, we're being attacked by these ISIS rebels. And basically Obama was like, no can do.
One of the major things, of course, that the King of Jordan and the President will be talking about today is the Middle East peace process, right? So the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, of course, remains a central topic. I'm sure they're talking about that right off the top, especially if you remember just yesterday, in the Oval Office, President Trump saying that there is going to be, quote unquote, all hell to pay if there are not the release of all hostages coming up on Saturday at noon, as you reported earlier this morning as well. So a lot of foreign policy, we're looking at a lot of things geopolitically speaking, and it's concerning times. It still is that way because you have to remember President Trump with the surgical strike to Somalia, where there was ISIS leaders there as well, just a few weeks back. So it's very kind of tense talking points, but also let's see what we can do to keep the peace here.
Right, exactly. So it would be fascinating to be a fly on the wall for that. So I'm looking forward to different press briefings, and perhaps we'll see this pattern of some tape, some playback with questions coming from the press in the Oval Office, and then maybe even an East Room ceremony as he's done with the last leaders who have visited.
Exactly, and it looks like right now, unless there's something to be added, if there would be an East Room press conference, that'd be great. As of now, it looks like they have those bilateral meetings and lunch. And then to your point, seeing them in the Oval Office would be great. I mean, there's so many things we want to look at just domestically here in this country with Doge and all of those things going on. But when there's a situation where there's a world leader like this, we have to extend that coverage to the global scene. And to that point, you were doing some coverage earlier. We went to France live with the AI situation. I didn't catch it, but did we see the vice president at all yet to speak there?
He was speaking with European Union officials, and we didn't get much of a playback in regard to what was very in-depth, other than keep building on that partnership. And we actually went live where there was South Korean officials actually speaking with Prime Minister Modi of India, looking on next to Prime Minister Emmanuel Macron of France, who is hosting so graciously as well. And I know that he's very much into the French tradition of hospitality and does an extraordinary job regardless of the topic.
Exactly. I mean, President Trump said that basically the first priority in the foreign policy is everything that will benefit and secure the safety of America first.
Exactly.
Quite interesting
Right.
that even in foreign policy, he's talking America first.
Right.
You know, so it's great. It's within trade. It's within, of course, safety, Middle East safety, backing Israel and the like. So all of us brought to you by some great sponsors, as you've heard from Robert this morning, including My Brightcore. So mybrightcore.com, Kimchi One is the product. I still have to get the product. Robert he's being the good guy right now, getting the good stuff. And I should get this as well, because I'm hearing about the probiotic and it helping with gut health and immune support and that kind of thing. So this might be something to definitely add to other supplements like vitamin A
Right.
and B and all that. So your thoughts about it so far?
It's a great way to start your morning. You know, made in the USA, I like to, if anything is made in China, I generally do not consume it. I mean, just as a policy with what we've seen from, you know, the poisonings and just, I won't get into the whole fentanyl thing, but we know that you're not getting the best products from certain areas of the world. But here in the United States, Brightcore, an American company, and one that truly cares about your gut health, Kimchi One, buy 2, get 1 free, mybrightcore.com/RSBN, or give them a call over at 888-722-0936. All of the health, your ability to function throughout the day, especially mental clarity, it's going to start in the gut and with all of that health. So get a couple of those bottles today and see the difference. I mean, for me, it's, you know, I enjoy coffee, and taking my time in the morning, getting a nice warm sip just to give a little, you know, little.
Go ahead,
little extra
just
step, right?
call it what it is, a jolt.
A jolt. I guess you call it a jolt, right? Some lightning to the thunder.
Yeah.
You know, the lightning and thunder. No, I'm just kidding. But regardless, this actually can get you without that coffee in the morning. Like, truly, it really is a great way to start it off and should be your essential as you begin your day.
All right, so mybrightcore.com. If you buy 2, get 1 free. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we have 2 live shots there, of course, of the same building, one a wider shot, one a little closer, there at the West Wing. So looking forward to seeing if we get any video from within the Oval Office. You know, it lists publicly, you know, closed press or open press, and this one says closed, but we've seen it where sometimes, even if it says closed press, there will still be a recording, and we'll get that feed here, and we'll replay it right away on RSBN Live. You know, President Trump, sticking to the foreign policy right now, speaking about 23 minutes ago, saying he's sending Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent to Ukraine to meet President Zelensky. President Trump saying this war must and will end soon. Too much death and destruction. The U.S. has spent billions of dollars globally with little to show. When America is strong, the world is at peace. Is that not the truth?
Oh, 110%. And Scott Bessent, a great selection. I mean, this is an individual who I've been more and more impressed with as time has gone on. And he really gave a heartfelt testimony, I think, to the committee as he was going through the confirmation process that as a gay American, he felt on 2 occasions he was actually discriminated against. One with the military years and years ago with the academies, and then on another occasion, and he said, this is my 3rd opportunity I can serve my country. And President Trump looks at the individual, regardless of religious background, philosophical, or sexual orientation. So he's honored to be in that place.
And that's what the thing is, the difference between the DEI versus someone that can get the job done and do a good job regardless of all that. So it's great to see people doing great things for our country, including, you was talking about the military. I saw Secretary Pete Hegseth very recently training with some of the military personnel down there. A video I just saw, I think it was on Citizen Free Press, most likely on that DOD feed we get here, but isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's really fun to see. And, you know, to Mark Wayne Mullins' point, the senator from Oklahoma, you know, what how can you still do PT and all that? And he said, how many push-ups did you do today? And that might sound goofy or silly, but at the same time, it's nice to have someone who's regulating the practices, who's putting the planners together, who's responsible for training our military to actually be able to do the basic training. It kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that show that President Trump was on before being president, right? Undercover Boss. So
right,
it's kind of like that in a way, but even though Hegseth's out there saying, hey, I'm the DOD secretary, but let's do this.
Oh, and if we ever find that clip, we can show you too, because it was actually in Chicago that I think I showed you. He comes into Trump Tower when it first opens. He does the maitre d' work. He does the valet. He does the dog walking, and then he does room service and housekeeping. And he goes, wow, you got to be smart. You got to be sharp and all that. He goes, we hire the best here. And it's true because they have this essence. If you've ever been to a really nice hotel, it's kind of the idea that they're around, but I kind of don't notice them. But
Yeah.
I do if I need something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, oh my gosh, like, wow, there's the detail. Actually, it was fun because I was on a little mini staycation with some of the younger members of my family, and of course, their little like little tiny toys and such, you know, came along with them, and they happened to be all tucked in with, you know, tucking the bed, and I thought, oh my God, that's a nice touch.
Exactly, it's almost military-esque right there.
Right.
But still, at the end of the day, you're right. President Trump liking to have everybody, no matter what the title is, doing it right, and that's pretty awesome to see that. And he runs the ship that way, so he's running the country that way. So he's very detailed when it comes to all of this.
Yes.
So it's great that he has picked some wonderful people to lead some cabinet positions out there. So we're looking forward to seeing all of the reaction to it, you know, in a good way out there in the country. So we're speaking a little bit about the southern border. But if you shift over to the Gulf of America, that being in the news a lot as well. Wearing a Gulf of America tie today, just for kicks, you know, because it's turquoise, I guess, with the water, you know. But the point is, there's actually a business down in the Gulf of America called Gulf of America Outfitters.
Oh my goodness!
Isn't that cool?
Wait, is it in Destin or where's that at?
It's in Louisiana.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
fantastic.
It's pretty cool that you know, there's businesses already. Now this particular business has been around for a couple of years, so they were ahead of the curve. They were calling it Gulf of America, and now President Trump does it, and it's just, they're so happy about it. They have a lot of merch. Actually spoke to the owner yesterday. Hopefully we can get an interview with him. And also he said he has a Starlink that he puts onto various boats. He does, what is it called when you are out on the sea taking people out? Charter boats, right?
Yes, fantastic.
So he runs a chartering company as well. Right. And he says, well, what about doing a live interview out in the Gulf of America? I said, let's try and get that done.
Oh, that'd be a blast,
right?
Absolutely. And we might actually have one of our very special correspondents coming to you live from the Gulf of America tomorrow, so you might get a glimpse of that beautiful water and the sun and the sand. Perhaps you might like a drink in your hand. We know for President Trump, though, it's going to be virgin pina colada.
Sure,
Yeah.
exactly.
So there you go.
We should talk about Republican Red Winery right now, but
exactly.
we will soon. Speaking of that, we will also be interviewing the owner and the president of Republican Red Winery sometime very soon. So it'll be great to hear again from all of the great sponsors that we have and the people that actually are behind these great products that we sell here in partnership. Speaking of that, let's talk about Mike Huckabee when it comes to freetrumpbook.com, the U.S. ambassador to Israel. freetrumpbook.com, pretty self-explanatory,
oh, yes.
But it's great. You see all of those kids' guide to various books there. They're actually really good, regardless if it's youth or older, because at the end of the day, it's good to refresh some of the basics out there too.
Well, that's why I suggest not just for the kids, whether it's the kids' guide to the courage of the president or the kids' guide to President Trump. Also good to get for your neighbors who might have their head in the sand and just don't think that they can make a difference in their time and place. And we're all born for such a time as this. And freetrumpbook.com explains that, especially to the youngins who might not be getting all of the good information of what President Trump has achieved. And even regardless of that, why he ran in the first place and why he chose to run again. He could have walked away from all this, but he said, nope, I got to finish the job that I set out to do. And in a way, I actually had a conversation with someone about this last night over at the young professionals here in town. And he said, I have a question for you. Do you think he would have been more effective having been reelected or more effective now? And I thought, wow, that's a great question. I think he's more effective now. And I think because we have, in a way, as voters in this country, we have a way of being reactive in our voting. We looked at, Biden, it seemed like the nice old uncle. He can't do much damage. Well, he's the worst president in history as a result. And then people, I think, look back and said, President Trump was pretty good at this job. Actually, he was outstanding.
Yeah.
So we need
Bring
him
back. Exactly.
So I think that's why you've had this change of pace and attitude in a lot of ways throughout Washington, D.C. in just 22 days.
I mean, within that framework, it kind of matches up with the Bible scripture. All things work together for the good to those that love God. So
Amen. You
go through a situation, whether it's personally or politically, and it might be a downtime, but you know what? Like 2020, like COVID, like the election situation that at 3 o'clock, 4 in the morning, somehow it goes to Biden. You know what I mean? So, but all things work together still for the good.
Amen. And that's Romans 8:28.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
So it's cool stuff. And it's great to be here with you guys as it's 12/22, Tuesday, February 11th. Of course, the president meeting with the Jordanian king and the crown prince. And we'll see, what specifics come out of the meeting, because every time President Trump meets with a foreign leader, then he'll I was going to say tweet, but he'll post on Truth Social some of the specifics. It's kind of cool.
Right, and he had some great posts today, and I guess it's a good moment for the Trump truths as we like to know them and see them. Let me pull this up real quick, but he's focused a lot on the tariffs today. Of course, steel and aluminum at 25% once again, with tariff 232, those executive orders, reinstating those in order to bring about American development and prowess in manufacturing, especially with the steel mills. But he had mentioned earlier today, this morning, he just truths out so much stuff regarding billions of dollars of fraud, waste, and abuse. It's already been found. The investigation completely running a government, it's just incompetent what's happening. And we saw with the subcommittee hearing on both sides of the aisle, they go to their constituents. OMB is not able to score this properly, in the recent years. And that's why you need someone like Doge and Elon Musk. And he said, look, there's much left to find with all of this government overreach. No excuses.
Exactly. And to your point, on Air Force One on Sunday, when he was flying over the Gulf of America to the Super Bowl, he said, quote, "We're looking at all the corruption taking place. The whole country looks like a fraud. What Elon and Doge team, to your point, has found is unbelievable." President Trump saying all of this. So, yeah, this is, our heads are spinning at this point. In the media, whether you're on the left side of the aisle trying to cover up and lie for everything, or whether you're on the right side and you're kind of like, this is wild. Did we know? That's the thing. Did we know that it was that deep in corruption? I think the answer is yes, but now we're really seeing the receipts, which is taking it to a whole new level.
Oh, yes. The proof is in the pudding. And this will be something that kind of looks over, as it is cloudy today and overcast in Washington, D.C., this bilateral meeting with the King of Jordan. So, all of this plays into foreign policy and how do we approach the world as we've had a very corrupt center of bureaucratic life in the modern era. And it's something that is very hard to turn the tables on. Even President Reagan mentioned the longest thing or closest thing to eternal life on earth is a government program. So for this administration to scale back the size and scope and overreach of the federal government, kudos to them and already having success doing so.
Exactly. I have a bit of a renewed sense of made in the USA, what that really means for the jobs, for this country, for the people of this nation, when it comes to even the tariff situation against other imports and all that. So having the steel factories here, having all of the manufacturing back here, and keeping the American economy strong, keeping people with jobs and entire communities supported by an America First agenda, instead of all of the cheaper things that are made in other countries. Let's get rid of maybe some of that and bring it back here to this country, where we know who's making the product, we know that there are jobs here and new jobs happening around the entire country. So we don't have to be, a lot of these other countries so depend on us in a way that is okay in some ways, but we really have to do America first.
Right. Well, and I think about even my upbringing, even in my own public school education, kind of the thought was not that it was looked down upon, but it was almost as if, if you're a blue collar in the area, you weren't doing the important white collar jobs. And I always thought, well, that's rude first and foremost. But if you look at it over time, I know I've become more pro-union over time. I think the only union I really am very vocal against is the teachers union, because the way they acted during COVID and continue to do in many cases with Randy Weingartner. Of course, there's so many great teachers out there, and it's such a wonderful vocational position to go after to educate children. But, the unions have put themselves before students on many occasions. But I think about with police, with fire, with our private unions, especially our textile mills and our carpenters. These are great people. They should have the option to choose whether or not they want to organize in the way they see fit. And to your point, Matthew, maybe some things will cost a bit more, but in the grand scheme of things, especially steel and aluminum, things our products go in that we actually consume, we know where it's coming from, it's safer, makes everyone happy, from the business owner to those skilled laborers. And we saw how NAFTA really decimated the middle class, especially in the Midwest.
Exactly. And then again, to your point, to add on to that is all of the jobs that will either be maintained here, instead of a factory shutting down and decimating a community, then we'll have more workers. And then on top of that, more expansion, if more of the factories come back from places like Mexico or in Asia or wherever they are.
Right.
So it's always good to see that. So and a shout out to every white collar, blue collar, I don't care what collar, because the point is, it's we the people as a family together, working hard for this country to do the best we can to do what? To have safety for our families, more money in our wallets, and also our freedoms. I think that's the biggest one still, is our constitutional rights to stay intact. And for us to really clean up this country, we're seeing it done right now by this White House.
Yes, and think about the fair labor standards as well. I think about some of what NAFTA brought was, child labor that took place, all for a cheaper product. And you think about, the world as well, and us being really the leaders and the beacon of hope in this globe of ours. We really shouldn't have things like that happening. And of course, how trafficking has exploded in the last administration, whether that sex or labor trafficking. It's all coming to an end thanks to the great leadership of this White House.
Yeah, I mean, it's common sense has just kicked it into high gear right now. It's just nonstop, historic speed, lightning speed we're seeing now. And it's fun to cover, to be honest.
Oh, it's a blast. I mean, it's for us, it's like the Super Bowl every day, because we get to cover American politics inside the Beltway, outside the Beltway. And for a programming note, if you're just joining us, 30 minutes roughly after the noon o'clock hour on the East Coast, that's what Right Side Broadcasting Network has become, your live desk. We were your election integrity headquarters, especially those Trump rallies. And who knows, we might get more. We've had 2 rallies thus far in 2025, but we have really transitioned into this new realm of bringing you unbridled access to everything happening in your government. And that's why we'd love to hear from you. Feedback at rsbn.tv. Tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods. We're actually hoping to have on maybe today, perhaps later on this week. I have to check on the vote, but get this, Matthew, my old neck of the woods. Henry Hyde, the great congressman, was my congressman. Remember him as a kid waving the 4th of July parade? Democrats who have taken over the county board are removing his name from one of the judicial offices. And this is a great bipartisan man. The Henry Hyde Act, the Hyde Amendment, was a huge bipartisan success in the House that prevented the federal funding of abortion and conscious rights to remain intact in the law. They're going to cancel culture his name. It's crazy to think about that. So we might bring you that story later on in the week, just see reaction from some of the more right-siders that are thinking about that.
Exactly. And then a shout out to those of you at Fort Bragg. Thanks to the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, going from Fort Liberty back to Fort Bragg. All right, so it is 12:30 Eastern Time. Robert McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Well, welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Live. It's 12:32 on the East Coast, 9:32 on the West Coast. We are awaiting President Trump currently meeting with His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan. I'm Robert McNeely. A pleasure to be with you, along with Matthew Alvarez. As you can see there, the West Wing of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Always good to see the White House, especially when there's a common sense leader inside running the country and being the leader of the free world. And speaking of that, I mean, meeting with now the third foreign leader in less than a month.
Right.
I mean, this is, talk about a proactive president and someone that gave us a lot of promises, and a lot of these promises are kept, and we're looking at more of that to happen. So meaning so far all the promises have been kept. There are many more, and he's taking care of all of those, it seems, as well. So it's just wonderful to see that.
What was your reaction when he's just standing there saluting the flag, when John Baptiste doing that great jazz rendition of the national anthem? I mean, wow, what a performance.
Exactly. I mean, the patriotism is back in this country. The people love it. You saw that the crowd cheered for President Trump, did not cheer for some other celebrities that were there. So, you know, and it's not only, it's not like an attack on a person. It's more of just what somebody's into. It's back to the basics of this country. So if, hopefully we can, you know, it sounds like kumbaya, but it'd be great to get along again, you know? How about make America get along again?
Right.
You know, it's, if you have a liberal neighbor, well, hey, you know, it is what it is. But just hopefully people are waking up. That's the point I think is key, is they see what's happening in the corruption in the government, and they're seeing the media being part of that, the mainstream media. So this is really testing the core of a person.
Yes.
Each person out there has to decide, do I follow along with this now that we know this was all a lie anyway on the left?
Right.
That's the point.
Oh yeah, exactly. It really is something to, you know, reflect upon. How do we move forward? And then, of course, for those politically savvy and minded, the upcoming midterms as well, because, you know, we have a situation, we've seen it in the last few days, where the far left trying to storm the Department of Education or making wild accusations in Baltimore City and Washington, D.C. just yesterday that Elon Musk was somehow going to gut Social Security. They're really struggling with their talking points, and the globalists and the deep state really rearing in the sense of how do we react to this mainstream populism that has really, I think, had a fire lit under it in the West. And you see it throughout many different countries. It's not just the United States, but I think of Italy, Hungary, even El Salvador, Panama to a certain extent. I mean, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio's great visits thus far, we have more and more countries who are wanting to play ball with an agenda that respects borders and respects culture and respects appropriate boundaries, but also those who want to dialogue and make the world a safer place.
And that's what we like to see, and we've got a person in the White House that is that natural business leader, as you guys know. Speaking of business, patriotaddictdeals.com, a number of great products on there, including the Trump Combat Knife. You can use that QR code or go to patriotaddictdeals.com. RSBN 30 is the discount, so 30% off those knives there, but also a lot of products on that website.
Oh, it's wonderful. This is something I have to stay away from. You know, you got to claim your 30% off, though, using code RSBN30. And I can tell you from my own purchasing prowess that these items don't last forever. So make sure you scan that QR code, get that limited edition Trump Combat Knife. A lot of places will tell you it's limited edition, but I'm telling you it is, because I ran out a couple of times. No, maybe they'll bring it back. So this is a great thing to get for your personal Trump collection.
The reason why I'm laughing so much is it's easy to spend money when you're a bachelor, but man, when you get married, buddy.
Well, that's why we're, we'll see what she does professionally. I'm just kidding. Any doctors out there? No,
that's a joke. But yeah, but I hear you. To your point, I mean, it's easy to spend, but it's actually a good thing, of course. So when it comes to Patriot Addict Deals,
Absolutely.
So many awesome products here at this network, and they're all rooted in patriotism. It's always nice to see that.
Oh, it is. It's all about our American way of life, freedom of choice and personal responsibility, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, constitutional principles restored. And that's, I think, what's been so exciting about the last 22 days. I mean, even the great one, Mark Levin, speaks of living in a post-constitutional era, and then came back the roaring lion, Donald Trump. And it's so wonderful to have him back in the White House.
Exactly, and to have the American people as lions themselves and not sheeple, for just following the crowd. Okay, these guys said do this, right? Like it's like, no, those days are over. Isn't that great to have a based president or somebody that's all about common sense?
Oh, it is. It's all about promises made, promises kept, and I'm so excited to see the back end of this meeting, this bilateral meeting with His Majesty King Abdullah of Jordan, and of course his son, the Crown Prince. So they are really a wonderful family and committed to peace in the Middle East ultimately. So there might be some differences, but ultimately they want people to thrive and prosper.
Yep. And so Secretary of State Marco Rubio is also meeting there with the president and the king and the Crown Prince there in the White House. So we'll see what news comes out of this meeting. Also, if we get any feed from inside the Oval Office, how they sit there with the fireplace and they're shaking hands and that kind of thing, we'll bring it to you. But we're following a lot of news at the end of the day.
Oh, yes.
Shifting gears to DOGE, obviously the Department of Government Efficiency, just kicking butt, doing great out there, revealing a lot of corruption, which is great for our nation because we need to get America wealthy again.
Oh, we do. I mean, it's really essential, and that's why if you're following that MAGA Minute with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she detailed probably one of the lesser-known stories because so much great things are happening throughout the news on a daily basis. The sovereign wealth fund that President Trump has put into place and will hopefully continue to grow because other nations have that. I just think about Egypt and Switzerland and some others that have this ability to really intact its wealth, and that's why you see them as some of the most wealthy in the entire world because when there's a rainy day, they have that to tap into.
Exactly. Charlie Kirk, I want to bring this up again on Truth Social, said the other day, when we voted for President Trump, we voted for Elon Musk and Doge, RFK Jr. and Maha, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. We voted for a robust chief executive of the country and his team, not a deep state bureaucracy guarded by legacy media, rogue intel agencies, and activist judges. So we know that to be true. Let's look into, again, Kash Patel. They're really slow rolling this because they don't want someone like that in the FBI as a director who will literally clean up any corruption there and make the FBI great. Maybe was it always great? I don't know. I know it hasn't been, we've seen what's happened over the past few years. So they should be letting Kash get that position because that's what we voted for. We voted for President Trump. We vote for his cabinet members indirectly as well.
Right, and related agencies, we have Pam Bondi as the 87th Attorney General, so the Department of Justice there, and then also Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security. What really connects these puzzles, not only Kash, but the vote today for Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. So watching that to see what time that will be specifically. But Senate's very interesting. Looking at Senate.gov, they don't really tell you the times, but rather what will happen today. So if we get an update on that, we'll hopefully go to that for you because that'll be an exciting one. I mean, what a political transformation for one of truly America's most beloved warriors. Tulsi Gabbard is the real deal and someone who was spied on by the Biden administration. I mean, just ridiculous.
Well, just imagine her then at the Department of National Intelligence doing it the right way. So it'll be great to see her at that post as well. And also just shifting back to the FBI and just law enforcement in general, a shout out to all of the good law enforcement that we have in this country. I mean, a massive percentage. My dad used to be a detective. Like, I get it, So huge shout out. Thank you guys for what you do, guys and gals out there that are, especially the Customs and Border Protection agents and the Marines and the Army and the National Guard at the southern border, really working hard down there. I've been watching those videos from the DOD. It's just wild to see. I mean, there's even like military mechanics that are working on or helping with the Customs and Border Protection SUVs.
Right.
So you have the military helping, Customs, Border Protection, fixing trucks. And I mean, it's just this whole team effort down there. It's pretty awesome to see.
Well, they encounter really some scary and nasty stuff too, in the process of their day. And even if it's Secret Service or TSA, and I've been with a lot of these guys, whether it's advance work or different events where the high profile people are coming in, and I won't mention what sometimes they go through and the different bags and what you see on the other end, even if it's good a good intention, it could be a little bit nauseating. So we thank our law enforcement. I like to wear my Back the Blue pin because you're true warriors out there and you love this country and your localities as well in such a way that I really think that's the only way to do it with your whole heart, is to truly love other people. And they do it without a lot of recognition on a daily basis, under a lot of pressure. And it's just good to see, literally and figuratively speaking, just an administration in place with leaders who have either been in those positions or they understand them well, and that they've truly been uncuffed to now do their jobs and not be disparaged for simply wanting to protect the homeland.
Exactly. And also, I think of Tom Homan, the border czar, as well. I mean, he's somebody that saw what you were talking about. And when he had that speech, I don't remember where it was, but I think we were actually working in studio that day. And Tom Homan was brought to tears of just couldn't believe the things that he saw. And he's like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because of these situations that I've seen out there. So, yeah, so we're seeing great things happen throughout the country. And anybody that comes against it, I would say would be against really the America First agenda, which is based in the Constitution, based in common sense. So it's like, let's just get it done for the good of the country.
All right. No, I mean, I think about my time, my career, and just my life in general. I consider myself less of a Republican than I ever have, just because I feel like these principles are American principles. It's America first. It's really us, we the people, versus a bloated bureaucratic system. And I actually spoke to another interesting gentleman last night at this event, and he said his granddad was very involved in Alabama politics, and he said they had a saying for the swamp even way back when. And it was like, you really can't, you put all the Democrats and Republicans who have been in D.C. a long time, throw them into a bin and you kind of shake them up or whatever it might be, or a satchel, what have you. And you really can't see the difference. The colors blend.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's we the people versus the deep state.
No, it's so true. It's the free world, which is the majority of the world. I mean, no matter what country somebody's from, if the people want to be free, that's the free world, right? So it's only those leadership types that are trying to do that massive control. And it's a really small number of people. Isn't that interesting how that works, you know?
Fascinating.
A great sponsor here at the network. We were talking about law enforcement before. Do you know that there is a percentage of law enforcement that actually carry the following product, the Byrna? Now, freedom and security are the cornerstones, of course, of the American way. That's why we've partnered with Byrna, a company that embodies these values right in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So Byrna's commitment to safety is personal for every American. As a passionate advocate for the Second Amendment, we understand the importance of self-defense, and this is great here. You've got an opportunity right there to go to Byrna.com. Now, it's not classified as a firearm. You see it says no background checks, but more than 25,000 4.5-star reviews. I mean, I heard that there were more than 500,000 of these sold in just the past 5 years alone. This is a huge, huge company right here. And we're really proud to have an awesome alternative to an actual gun. But here's the point. These guys love the Second Amendment, and they are gun owners themselves. But a huge percentage of conflicts happen where you don't need to go to an actual gun. You know, this is one way to calm things down.
Right, and God forbid that you're engaged in a situation like that to defend you or your family. There are some jurisdictions where you could actually be prosecuted, and very willingly so. And we were talking about rogue DAs somewhat earlier on the last hour, and they'd sure be happy to prosecute you in a moment of where you're defending your own property or your family or your own bodily autonomy. So this is an outstanding alternative to deadly force as well. So Byrna.com, and they're great Second Amendment supporters as we are. So it's really smart to get one of these today.
Exactly. So if you go to Byrna.com/RSBN, you'll receive 10% off a number of great products there. I just want to read a little bit more to you. I'll give you a little bit more background here. But with no background checks and the ability to ship directly to your doorstep, the Byrna Less Lethal ensures that safety is never out of reach. Whether you're protecting your home or loved ones, Byrna powerful, less lethal kinetic and tear gas ammunition that can incapacitate attackers for up to 30 minutes, allowing you to protect yourself and your loved ones without the legal ramifications of taking a life. So Byrna, great sponsor here. Go to Byrna.com/RSBN. Grateful to have them aboard here at Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Yes, an outstanding product. And there's, again, a screenshot of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. President Trump currently hosting a bilateral meeting with His Majesty King Abdullah II at the White House. And of course, his assembled team as well, including the Crown Prince of Jordan in attendance. I'm Robert McNeely with Matthew Alvarez. A pleasure to join you. It's the afternoon on the East Coast, still morning in the Central Mountain and West Coast time zones.
Yes, hello to you out there on the West Coast, 9:47 on the West Coast right now as we are looking live at the White House. As you know, as Robert just referred to, the Jordanian king there and also the Crown Prince of Jordan meeting with President Trump, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in on these meetings, we're told as well. Today's visit includes the lunch and bilateral meetings. They're also going to talk about a number of other issues, including Middle East peace and the Gaza announcement from President Trump recently. And let's go to D.C. right now.
And we've had a great relationship. He's a great gentleman, a great leader, and does a fantastic job in his country. His son, we're lucky enough to have his handsome son with us today, so it's good to see you again. We've had some quick discussions just now, and we're going to have some longer discussions after this. And the relationship with Jordan has been very strong, has been with me, and it really has been with the country. But I think I've been closer than other presidents to Jordan and what Jordan represents. And it's an honor to have you and your son with us today. And if you'd like to say a few words, and thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for having us in so short after your inauguration. I think just as a testament to what you said is a special relationship between our two countries and the personal relationship of friendship and trust between the two of us. Mr. President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here. And as you said, sir, we've got some very interesting discussions ahead.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, many people in the region, especially Jordan, are worried about the annexation of the West Bank. Will you give His Majesty the King guarantee that you won't allow Israel to annex the West Bank? And how are you going to
I think that's going to work out very well. That's not really what we're talking about today. I think that's something that's going to work out automatically, and it's in good shape. And we discuss it. Other people have discussed it with us and with me. That's going to work out. West Bank is going to work out very well.
Mr. President, why should the king take in the Palestinian people? He's made clear he doesn't want to.
Well, I don't know, but he may have just something to say because we discussed just briefly. I think maybe you want to say it now, or?
Well, Mr. President, I think we have to keep in mind that there is a plan from Egypt and the Arab countries. We're being invited by Mohammed bin Salman to discussions in Riyadh. I think the point is how do we make this work in a way that is good for everybody? Right. And obviously, we have to look at the best interests of the United States, of the people in the region, especially to my people of Jordan. And we're going to have some interesting discussions today. I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible, and then wait for, I think, the Egyptians to present their plan on how we can work with the president to work on Gaza challenges.
So
I want to tell you, excuse me, wait, just please. I didn't know that, what you just said, 2,000 children with cancer or other problems, and that's really a beautiful gesture. That's really good, and we appreciate it. And we'll be working on the rest with Egypt. I think you're going to see some great progress. I think with Jordan, you're going to see some great progress. 3 of us, and we'll have some others helping, and we're going to have some others at a very high level helping, and the whole thing will come. It's not a complex thing to do. And with the United States being in control of that piece of land, a fairly large piece of land, you're going to have stability in the Middle East for the first time. And the Palestinians, or the people that live now in Gaza, will be living beautifully in another location. They're going to be living safely. They're not going to be killed, murdered, and having to leave every 10 years, because I've been watching this for so many years. It's nothing but trouble. Everyone's being killed. They're being robbed. It's like living in hell. And they're going to end up having a great home, great families that don't have to get mugged and killed and beaten up and harassed by Hamas and everybody else. And I know we'll be able to work something. And what you just said about the 2,000 is fantastic. It's so beautiful. It's music to my ears. But we're going to be able to work something, and I know we'll be able to work something also with I believe, not 100%, but 99%. We're going to work out something with Egypt.
Mr. President, during your election campaign, Mr. President, how is the U.S. going to own Gaza? Your White House has made clear taxpayer dollars won't be used for this. So what money are you going to use to buy Gaza?
We're not going to buy anything. We're going to have it. And we're going to keep it, and we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace, and there's not going to be any problem, and nobody's going to question it. And we're going to run it very properly, and eventually we'll have economic development at a very large scale, maybe the largest scale on that site. And we'll have lots of good things built there, including hotels and office buildings and housing and other things. And we'll make that site into what it should be. And the people from Gaza who wouldn't be able to be there for years, because you're talking about to get it and prepare it and to take care of all of the problems that currently it has, as you know, tunnels, and people are in those tunnels. And you have some good people and some bad people, and you may have hostages right now. You know, you have the hostages possibly there. They don't know where they are. And, you know, I have a Saturday deadline, and I don't think they're going to make the deadline personally. I think they want to play tough guy, but we'll see how tough they are. But it's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to be wonderful for the Middle East. I think it'll turn the Middle East. I think you're going to have peace in the Middle East. You're going to eventually have peace in the Middle East.
Couldn't this deadline risk undermining the talks that you're having with the King today, and risk the kind of wider peace that you're trying to?
Because we're not talking about a big situation. We're talking about something that can go very quickly. We're talking about it's going to go quickly. It's not going to take a long time, okay? That's not going to take a long time. You know bullies? You know what a bully is, right? You know, the bully, I've always, and I found it throughout my life, a bully is the weakest person. And they're bullies. Hamas is bullies. The weakest people are bullies. You know that, right? All right, go ahead.
Mr. President, you were saying that Palestinians will live somewhere else safe. Where exactly do you want them to live?
Well, it's not where I want them to live. It's going to be where we ultimately choose as a group. And I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Jordan. I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Egypt. We may have someplace else, but I think when we finish our talks, we'll have a place where they're going to live very happily and very safely. And, you know, don't forget, they only want to be on the Gaza Strip because they don't know anything else. They never had an alternative. And they don't want to be on the Gaza Strip, but they have no choice. They have to be. And they're being killed there at levels that nobody's ever seen. No place in the world is as dangerous as the Gaza Strip. They don't want to be there. They have no alternative. When they have an alternative, not one person will want to stay where they are. Nobody wants to stay there. They're living in hell. It's a death trap.
Mr. President, how do you know that the Palestinians don't want to leave their land? Some people say this is ethnic cleansing. You won't be able to force them to leave their land.
We're moving them to a beautiful location where they have new homes, where they can live safely, where they'll have doctors and medical and all of those things, and I think it's going to be great. Yeah, any questions?
King Abdullah, what do you think about the U.S. taking over the Gaza Strip? Do you want to see the U.S. own the Gaza Strip?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, the President is looking at Egypt coming to present their plan. As I said, we will be in Saudi Arabia to discuss how we can work with the President and with the United States. So I think let's wait until the Egyptians can come and present it to the President and not get ahead of ourselves.
And is there a parcel of land in Jordan that you're willing to have Palestinians?
Well, I think what we said, I have to look at the best interests of my country. I think the President is very happy that we do this thing with 2,000 children as quickly as possible. And again, I believe that the President is looking forward to getting a group of us Arabs here to discuss the overall plan.
And last question, the 2,000 children, are those from the Gaza Strip?
Absolutely, from the Gaza Strip.
Are you willing to change your mind, Mr.
That's
President?
from the Gaza Strip, the 2,000.
Are you willing to change your mind if you hear the Egyptian and the Arab plan end of the month? If they present you something different, are you open to
I
other
think
plans?
we sort of have gone down the line. We know pretty much what is going to be presented. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be magnificent for the Palestinians. They're going to be in love with it. I did very well with real estate. I can tell you about real estate. They're going to be in love with it.
But Mr. President, doesn't concern you that moving 2 million people from there?
It's a very small number of people relative to other things that have taken place over the decades and centuries. It's a very small number of people, and they're living a terrible life. Look at the way they're living now. Nobody's living like that in the entire world. They're living under buildings that are mostly fallen down and will continue to fall down. And they're living under. People are being killed every day. The conditions are horrible. There are no conditions anywhere in the world that are worse than the Gaza Strip right now.
But don't you have concern that you can destabilize Jordan and
You said all hell will break out if all the hostages are not released on Saturday. What did you mean by that? And are you encouraging Netanyahu to walk away from this deal? Have you talked about this with him?
So I've looked at at the condition of people coming out of the hostage situation, and it's horrible. I looked at the before and after yesterday. 3 young men. One is dead now, as you know, the older gentleman who died, which everybody said he was alive and well. He's dead. But the 3 young men, and I looked at them from a short while ago, and I looked at them now. They're emaciated. They look like Holocaust survivors. They looked. I mean, they'll get better, but they're in rough shape. They were treated really badly, and we've heard things from them since. And I think the reason that Hamas is playing so cute is because they saw the reaction to these 3 people that came out, and the other was, look, the one young lady had her hand blown off practically, and they were not in great shape either. But she's missing her fingers and a big part of her hand. You know what she did? She was stopping a bullet that was aimed at her. She went like that, and it blew off her hand. Now, I think they want time, because I think the people that they have living are in such bad shape, because they're sending the most healthy people out, because they don't want to send the least healthy people out. And there was an uproar when they saw the people from yesterday. So these people are, so I don't want to do 2 and then we do another 2 in another week and then we do 4 in 3 weeks. No. They either have them out by Saturday at 12 o'clock or all bets are off.
Mr. President, would you still consider withholding aid to those countries if they don't accept your plans to accept?
Well, I don't want to say that, because we've had such a good relationship and we're doing so well just in the short time that we've been talking. I mean, the king just made a statement. I didn't ask him to do that, about literally saving 2,000 young children from the Gaza Strip. We didn't know about that. You didn't know about that. Nobody did, except for the king and his son. I assume you told your son, right? And I just thought it was great. No, I think we'll do something. I don't have to threaten with money. We contribute a lot of money to Jordan and to Egypt, by the way, a lot, to both. But I don't have to threaten that. I think we're above that. I do believe we're above that. So.
Would you consider other countries, not Jordan and Egypt? There was talks about Indonesia, Albania, other places.
Yeah, sure. We would. And we have other countries that want to get involved. We have a lot of people that want to get involved. There's a great sense of wanting to help the Palestinians. There's a lot of good countries out there, people that rule those countries with big hearts, and this gentleman is at the top of the list.
And if they don't want to leave, how are you going to force them, Mr. President?
Oh, they're going to be great. They're going to be very happy.
Can you, Your Majesty, should we expect that the Jordanian response would be part of a coordinated Arab response?
The response will be from a multitude of countries, Arab, international. I know the Europeans want to step in. And again, we'll probably have to look to the help of the United States to make sure that COGAT, which is the clearing agency on the Israeli side, makes it as efficient as possible, because 2,000 kids, the best way to get to them is by helicopters and get them straight to our institutions. And I also believe that quite a few countries would also probably like to take some of those kids and have them treated in their hospitals. So we also launched this ASAP.
Yes, and that's right. This should have been done by the Biden administration, but, they didn't do anything. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. So this should have been done by the Biden administration. This should have never happened because October 7th would have never happened if I were president. Zero chance of happening. You wouldn't have had that whole mess where the Middle East got blown up, and you wouldn't have had Ukraine and Russia fighting. That would have never happened. And by the way, we're making good progress there, I think. I really think we're making some very good progress.
Mr. President, you said before that the U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it. We're going to get it going eventually where a lot of jobs are going to be created for the people in the Middle East. It's going to be for the people in the Middle East, but I think it can be a diamond. It can be an absolute tremendous asset for the Middle East. And you're going to have peace. It's going to bring peace in the Middle East. Gaza, the way it is right now, every 10 years you're going to have the same thing happening. I've watched it so long, all the death and destruction of Gaza. The civilization's been wiped out in Gaza. No, it's going to be a tremendous thing. It's fronting on the sea. It's going to be a great economic development job. It's going to put people to work, a lot of people to work. And those people are all going to be from the Middle East.
And just to follow up with one on that for King Abdullah, can you clarify again, sir, how do you feel about the U.S. taking Gaza, as the president said?
Well, again, this is something that we, as Arabs, will be coming to the United States with something that we're going to talk about later to discuss all these options.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
And Mr. President, would you seek to personally develop property in Gaza after this happens?
No. I've had a great career in real estate.
Mr. President,
when you've done what I've done in the last number of years, including the 4 years that we should have been doing something else, frankly, because people see that now for sure. But when you've done what I've done, you can just do more good for people when you're president. When you're president, we can do things. This is all things that should have been done, but actually things that shouldn't have had to be done. Gaza, absolutely, it would have been so great if the Biden administration would have started this. But actually, in all fairness to them, they should have never let it happen. It did happen, and because of the fact that they let this happen, this catastrophe of October 7th, something like this becomes practical and very real, meaning the development and all of the things that I've talked about with respect to the Gaza Strip. If you didn't have the October 7th catastrophe, and it was a horrible catastrophe, then probably you wouldn't be talking about that. But the only thing I can say is this is going to bring stability and peace to the Middle East. And ultimately, when it's developed, which will be in quite a while from now, because we want to let things calm down. But when it's developed, it's going to bring tremendous numbers of jobs to the Middle East, including the people of your country.
Mr. President, what if it does not bring peace to the Middle East? There are many Palestinians, even though you say that everything is going to be beautiful, everything is going to be lovely, they're not going to want to go back. There are going to be people who want to go back and feel like that it is their right to do that. You haven't said, will there be any type of repercussions or anything that happens?
We don't think that's going to happen. We think we think people are going to be very happy, thrilled. A lot of those people that you're talking about are going to end up maybe living there and maybe working there, but it'll be in a different form. We have had tremendous support for this project, and we think the biggest asset of the project is going to bring peace ultimately to the Middle East. All right.
Mr. President, one last question.
Go ahead behind you, and you've asked enough.
Mr. President, one of your promises on the campaign trail is to bring peace to the Middle East. It was a promise to your voters, Arab voters here. The Arab voters in the United States oppose this. What do you say to that?
Well, if you look at Michigan, where we have a large Arab population, as you know, I was just telling the King that we won. As you know, I won the Arab population. Now, when I started off, I wasn't leading, and when I finished, a few months later, we started campaigning in Michigan. And when I finished, we won it by a tremendous amount, by 30 points. So my relationship with the Arab population has been fantastic, and my relationship with the Middle East is very good with all the countries, just about all the countries. Let's see, I would say all the countries. And they all want to do something, and they want to see peace in the Middle East. So all the stories you hear about the Middle East not really wanting peace, that they want war, they want this, they want to go a certain place. Let me tell you, those stories are false. They want to have peace. I know them all very well. They want to have peace. They want to have a good life like other people. And this will be a big factor in bringing peace to the Middle East. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Let's go, press. Guys, let's go. Press, let's go. Thank you. Come on, guys, quickly, please.
Thank you. Thank
guys,
you.
let's go. Come on, quickly.
We're moving out this way.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Thanks, guys.
Come on, guys.
Out this way.
Quickly, please.
Right here.
Quickly, guys. Thank you.
Moving. Thank you. Thank
Come on, guys, let's
you.
go. Come on, guys.
Thanks,
Let's
guys.
go.
Here we go. Let's go. David, let's go. David, come on, guys. Let's go.
Guys, quickly. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you the center channel? No.
All right, so you saw that meeting there in the Oval Office. We'll get to some commentary in just a second. This all brought to you by some great sponsors at the network, including Byrna. As you take a look on your screen, you're going to see a lot of great information for this less lethal launcher there. You see it on the screen. We know that Byrna's commitment to safety is personal for every American. So these guys love the Second Amendment. They own guns themselves, but you know, about 5% of law enforcement actually own these as well. It's a less lethal, safe way to take care of things when it comes to a dangerous situation. I believe there are 2 kinetic rounds and then 3 chemical rounds that have a tear gas in there as well. And most of you may have heard of this company, obviously a very well-known company selling a lot of units over the past 5 years. So Robert, you can see it's not classified as a firearm and legal in all 50 states.
Oh yes, and they're out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. This is Byrna's commitment to safety is personal for every American, and as passionate advocates of the Second Amendment, whether it be us here at Right Side Broadcasting or our friends at Byrna.com, we understand the importance of self-defense and having a less lethal option because sadly, depending on the jurisdiction you live in, you could be charged for simply defending your own property, your bodily autonomy, or those you love. So with no background checks and the ability to ship directly to your doorstep, and with this being legal in all 50 states, this is the best decision for a less lethal option. And this can incapacitate attackers for up to 30 minutes with its tear gas properties and allows you to protect yourself against any rogue DA who might come after you for simply protecting your property. So go over to Byrna.com/RSBN, 10% off of the curated Byrna bundle. So something to definitely take advantage of today.
Definitely, and we're told the Byrna less lethal launcher comes in multiple colors, safety orange that you see on your screen, also in black and in yellow. And they also have this pull pierce patent where you don't have to puncture the canister like the other products out there. You actually, it's when you pull the trigger for the first kinetic round, that's when it punctures the CO2. So it's not where you have to puncture it in other ways where it leaks the CO2.
Right.
This is only starting the CO2 operation once you actually pull the trigger there. So it's definitely a great thing for safety, a wonderful product there, Byrna.com/RSBN. We'll talk about them in just a bit, as it is 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, February 11th. You just saw President Trump and the King of Jordan, and a lot of news coming out of that meeting there in the Oval Office.
Absolutely. 2,000 children with medical issues and who are sick, as they both put it, will be headed to Jordan most likely. So there'll be a medical refugee status, if you will, and then also further talks with Riyadh, Egypt, to see if they will take even more of potential refugees, the people in Gaza. So as President Trump laid that out, this is perhaps not just the Palestinian people per se, but everyone who does live along that Gaza Strip. So again, they are very bipartisan, these talks, in regards to we want what's best for Christians, Jews, and Arabs. And we've seen this from King Abdullah since he became His Majesty in 19 99 and ruling over his kingdom, someone who has been targeted by ISIS and Al-Qaeda on numerous occasions, but someone who has always sought to put Jordan first, as President Trump seeks to put America first. And they clearly have a very strong relationship and very respectful of one another.
It was great to see on the fly President Trump's reaction to the announcement of the 2,000 medically sick children that are going to be sent to Jordan, saying it's music to his ears, that it's a beautiful thing. So that, that news breaking right now on RSBN. Also, the Jordanian king said, how do we make this thing happen for where it's good for everyone? So a number of member states and countries will be meeting together to see how this can go to the next level of safety. President Trump saying Egypt will also work with taking people in from Gaza, to your point. And then also speaking about parcels of land in Jordan and in Egypt where this could be possible. So it's all really preliminary, but still a direction that the president is going. And we also heard about another direction when it comes to the hostage situation, just shifting gears slightly, but still staying out there in the Middle East, of if Hamas does not release the hostages in full, there will be, as he said yet last night, hell to pay. He also said today, quote, all bets are off, meaning the peace deal between Hamas and Israel. So we'll see what happens there. President Trump, I'm sure, in talks with the Prime Minister of Israel each day leading up to 12 o'clock on Saturday. That's when President Trump said, if this isn't taken care of, all bets are off. And he was talking about how, they release 1 or 2 or 5 hostages, and it's a trickle, right? He doesn't want that. He wants a full release.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's just long overdue of American and Israeli hostages in this area that have been through hell. I mean, you think about the savage nature of how they were taken, and many people murdered simply for going to see a concert. And this has to stop. We need our people back. And there comes a time where you draw that red line in the sand. And President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have been more than patient with it. So now comes the time to release all of them. Or, like you said, there will be hell to pay. And I'd be surprised if they don't follow through with that, simply because even the way Israel, even with Biden in office, really decimating Hamas, Hezbollah, especially in Lebanon, and the Houthi rebels, they took the fight to the enemy. And if they want to continue to live like that, so be it. But America and Israel will see this through and get our citizens back.
Exactly. So we'll see. I mean, this is something to follow this week. Right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And if you haven't noticed, we are having obviously live feeds throughout this country and throughout the world as well. Everywhere from Paris, France. I believe we were somewhere else recently, El Salvador, Panama, of course, within the Beltway there in D.C., and in Los Angeles the other day, North Carolina, Virginia, having that next step ability as a network. As we continue, if there are any more rallies, trust me, we'll be there. We love rallies, and we love seeing all of you guys out there, the American people, just supporting President Trump and the team. But outside of that, America First News right here on RSBN Live. So I'm glad to join Robert McNeely today, of course, starting out the coverage earlier this morning. And we'll continue as we see if there's any breaking news out there. But let's shift down and talk a little bit about a question that was asked to President Trump there by one of the reporters on Breaking 911. They've just posted this on X. President Trump saying, we're not going to have to buy, we're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy, there's nothing to buy, we will have Gaza. And we remember President Trump talking about Gaza, and he said, it's a demolition site.
Right.
Where are people going to live? There's no place to live right there.
Right, exactly. And then he mentioned in this bilateral meeting that there will be new homes, townhomes, apartments, hotels, and that it will be really something sought after. So maybe that's something he will dive into more with the king, as well as many voices in this region giving many opinions and how to move forward with all this. I think what's in agreement, or what seems to be, is that this might be the end of some form of two-state solution. That was really American foreign policy for a long time. I'm thinking really from the Carter years, if not before, all really through about Barack Obama. And you would always see these moments of just baby steps, then falling backwards. And it's been warfare that's been going on for years and years and years. And I think as of recently, it's finally been the straw that broke the camel's back. There's no pun intended there, but people can't go on living like this regardless of their background.
Exactly. I mean, you look at the Abraham Accords in the first administration, that was 4 peace treaties. We'll see what happens for this second administration. We're seeing President Trump who wants to see, of course, peace in the Middle East, as does anybody. Also on Breaking 911, shifting gears slightly, FEMA's chief financial officer, Mary Comins, was just fired for illegally funding migrant luxury hotels in New York City against the orders of President Trump, that via Benny Johnson as well. So seeing reports come in live right now as you take a live look at the White House there. And isn't that interesting? I mean, people are, listen, if you're going to do corrupt things, you're going to be found out.
Right. I think we'll find this more and more day by day as Elon Musk and others go through combing the government funding and what we'll continue to find in this process, because we found many fishy and illegal things happening, and that's why there's been a door. You know, it's leave if you don't want to either come to work or if you don't want to fulfill the mandate by the American people. And that's why I love President Trump's portrait. It will stare you down in a federal office. If you're not working for the will of the people, then go elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite interesting. I was saying to Robert off camera while we were watching also the president and the Jordanian king, you know, on RSBN, on Truth Social, we used a quote here that President Trump said. He said, quote, "You're going to have stability in the Middle East for the first time," end quote. That's according to the president. And just outside of it, we don't have to dive into it too much, but we have a lot of Bible-believing viewers out there. And there is, you know, that kind of peace in the Middle East that brings on next steps of certain things out there as well. We won't get into all of that, but this is quite an interesting time that we're literally living in right now, biblically speaking, but of course for our country moving forward.
Oh yeah, there's no question about it, and really an amazing sight to see President Trump, the way he addresses each issue, very easy to understand as well. It's a common sense approach. It's 20 promises made and 20 promises kept, and that became RNC public policy, someone who has really reshaped American and global politics simply because he wanted to serve his country.
Exactly, and that's what he's doing, and we like seeing it happen. So obviously the president meeting with the Jordanian king and the crown prince in the White House there, 1:19 p.m. Of course, President Trump speaking about Doge this morning on Truth Social, and also the billions of dollars. I mean, outside of that, you know, finding out things about USAID and the fact that money was going toward places like Politico and other government, international government entities as well. It's been kind of wild.
Oh, it's really bizarre. And I think Politico might have been the most shocking, because for an outlet to say that they were independent, they were clearly state-run media. And then all of just the obnoxious programs that were sent overseas, wasting this money. Because I think of the people in Western North Carolina and Virginia, even throughout Georgia and Alabama from the Hurricane Helene. I mean, it really devastated areas that weren't used to these floodwaters. And then you have the forest mismanagement and literally the not turning on of water. I mean, the taxpayers in Southern California, Pacific Palisades, that's why they thought they were paying a lot in taxes so they could have a return on their investment. That was not the case. And I think a lot of people are asking, why is our government either not responsive to us, or at the same time giving all these billions and billions away to other entities and to fight foreign wars like Ukraine and Russia? And hopefully that will be next on the docket to see if that comes to an end.
Exactly. So the Secretary of the Treasury Department, is it Scott Bessent, right?
Scott Bessent.
Scott Bessent will be sent out there to meet with Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine. So, you know, President Trump working on getting things taken care of, but also you got to remember the first 3 weeks were all about the executive orders and so many America First policies being tackled. And again, his foreign policy leads with the America First for the country, though.
Right.
What interests will this? How will this help the American people? Is part of the foreign policy priority for President Trump. So seeing great things happen there as we see a number of people exiting the White House. Let's go over to another great sponsor at the network, MyPillow.com.
Yes, it is the mega sale, of course. Saves 30% on the My Cross, and there's a woman's version of it as well that's reversible, so you can have the black or the white. And of course, it's the exact replica of the cross that Mr. Mike Lindell wears. But how about those My Pillows too? $28.98 for a 6-towel set. And the flannel sheets, $44.98, but with over 2,000 items on the website, close to 80% off of everything. So always great, amazing deals going on right now. This might be the biggest ever, in fact. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Please support Mike Lindell as he supports the right side of history. I mean, this is a warrior for free speech, election integrity, the Bill of Rights, and his own personal testimony and journey in and of itself. I just love how he said it's only possible in America. It's only possible through the blood of Christ, and literally tearing open that veil to be born again. And Mr. Mike Lindell wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's a joy to interview, a joy to talk to, and someone, as I mentioned, day after day, I hope to see him in the governor's race in Minnesota come 2026.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him do that. And, Minnesota, I'm sure, would love it too. A lot of people there. I mean, that state was getting very close to going for President Trump.
Oh, yes.
I was going back and forth, as did Virginia, as did New Jersey slightly. But anyway, so it'd be great to see that in the state of Minnesota. And also, I'd like to get up to Minnesota. I've never been. I want to go to a Minnesota Wild hockey game. That'd be fun, or a Vikings game.
Absolutely.
Minnesota Twins would be cool. But anyway, have you been?
Many times. Well, it's a great place for me because I would visit the Mayo Clinic often. I'm a thyroid cancer survivor, so it's almost been a second home in a way. Stillwater, Minnesota, a lovely place as well. My dear friend who was my field rep at Turning Point USA, we would go up there for different deployments. So being along that Wisconsin-Minnesota border, great fishing, great hockey as well. He was a hockey player himself in college and high school. So highly recommend Minnesota, more in the summertime, but it's the land of 10,000 lakes.
It's hear great things, a lot of outdoor, sporting events and that kind of thing as well. So, yeah, Mike Lindell as the governor would be awesome, as it's 1:23 Eastern time. Let's shift back to, we'll get to some of the headlines in just a second, but Robert, you just shared something very personal there. Being an overcomer of something like that, what kind of things did you learn, and how could you help someone that might be going through something like that?
Yeah, it's really, that's where I found my true personal relationship with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, but also, having a second chance. It was so long ago now, it's almost a distant memory, or almost feels like, in a way, a different life. That might sound odd unless you've been through something where you're facing, where your back is against the ropes. But just always in the back of my mind to have that second chance, to be grateful, to thank God for the amazing opportunities by His hand alone has really provided. The people that I've gotten to meet and the relationships based off of that, it's always been very special. And so it's been a neat testimony, mostly because the fact that where it sits is right on your throat. And I've used my voice for my career in many different ways. So every morning as I wake up, it's again another thank you for not only just waking up, but having the opportunity to share with you, Matthew, and this great network to go after the truth and bring it to you, the American people, and to break bread with the amazing people we meet. It's just, life is an incredible journey, and every day is an adventure.
Amen to that. And so glad God is with us. A lot of times you don't hear that on a mainstream network, that kind of thing. Well, we're not mainstream, so it's good. We're glad to.
We're top tier.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just glad to have you guys part of this network. This is the real deal. It's grassroots. It's all of us, in our journeys, in our lives, and it just comes to a point where, hey, you know what? We'd rather work for conservative media any day of the week over mainstream media, and to report common sense and authentic stories that we like to bring you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So again, about 5 minutes from 1:30, and it's great to see President Trump, an overcomer himself, going through so much. I've overcome a number of things in my life, you know what I mean? So it's just like, hey, you just keep on going, and that's the thing that we can't forget.
Right.
Don't ever quit. Keep on going.
Absolutely. President Trump says it all the time. I've seen so many people just don't quit, keep going, and you can't be, aloof or even unrealistic about a certain goal or even a dream. But I've come to find that the more tenacious you are, the more gracious you are in the process, the more you seek to become a subject matter expert in whatever respective field or aspect of life that you are pursuing. Things, as you mentioned earlier, Romans 8:28, seem to come to work for the good of the Lord and for the good of all, because that's something I think we forget just going into the Christian belief system. The cross is now glorified. It was once the greatest tool for for Roman execution and arguably the worst way of dying because of the suffering at the cross. And the Lord turns it upside down on its head as something to be glorified, to turn to. And sometimes we forget as followers that to believe in him, to follow him truly is to take up your cross. And there will be moments of, hey, I don't want you going down this direction. We got to shut this door right now. And so we're going to look this way. And sometimes you only find out why when it's in the rearview mirror. But it's, you know, that he's along with you and he's along with us in this process because this is his nation. And it was enshrined nearly 250 years ago with the immortal words of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the argument for the natural order, a God-given constitutional republic. It's rather extraordinary. And our friend Charlie Kirk talks about this on a regular basis, Turning Point USA Faith, in regards to a lot of people will approach, hey, it's only mentioned a few times, God and founding documents. Well, no. 9 of the 13 colonies, the original colonies, you had to be a Bible-believing Christian in order to actually hold public office. So, and 8 were majority Protestant, Maryland majority Catholic at the time. That's an interesting little thing to explore in history that's not taught in place. I mean, Hillsdale, I could think about, maybe Liberty, some other institutions, but this is literally our history, whether or not you believe it.
Exactly. And obviously, Bobby and I and a lot of people that are watching believe that Jesus 3 days later did not stay dead and rose again on the 3rd day. Now, we will also say within the political field of this, since we've gotten down this path, and of course we're going to get back to the main headlines here in just a second, but freedom of speech is a great thing to have, of course.
It is.
So the point is, regardless of your belief system, right? Personally, we could have a conversation if you wanted to, but politically speaking, President Trump, the president of the entire nation, right? No matter the faith, no matter the situation out there politically, of course, the personal side is obviously a different story when you
Right.
talk to different people about your faith, that kind of thing. But all right, let's shift back to the coverage here. It's 1:30 at the bottom of the hour here on Tuesday, February 11th. The Jordanian king saying they're going to take in 2,000 medically sick children from Gaza to Jordan. President Trump on the fly reacting. He said, I didn't know that was happening. He said that in front of the reporters, saying that's music to his ears. That's a beautiful thing that's happening. The president also saying that they want to work with Egypt as well to bring in some of the people from Gaza, the Palestinians, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, we're going to see what happens here as the days go on into the future.
This will be very interesting to watch. And President Trump mentioning in this bilateral meeting as well that Gaza will look better than it ever has. It almost seems as if he wants to help institute somewhat of, what's happened in the UAE as well as Dubai. If you look back, during the first Persian Gulf War, rather prior to that, maybe that strip of road had 4 buildings. I mean, really nothing there. Now on top of this is Gaza's war-torn at the time, so I mean, it's really decimated. But look at Dubai now. I mean, it's a premier city, and people travel from all over the world for conferences and new technologies and things that are popping up, skyscrapers. We never thought that would be the case late 80s, early 90s. Maybe that could be the history in the near future for the Gaza Strip.
All right, let's go to colonialmetals.com, and I hear your point and I agree with you there, definitely. Let's look at this here. This is Colonial Metals Group. So all you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com. You'll get this free info kit on gold and silver, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k. With the BRICS nations, man, they want to use their own currency, like Brazil, Russia, and others,
right.
Which really messes with the value of the U.S. dollar. But as Maganomics is kicking in, still good to have gold and silver as a backup plan.
Oh, absolutely, regardless of who's in charge. And to your point, Matthew, it's skyrocketed inflation with our national debt and the printing of money, especially in the last 4 years. But think about this guide shows you from 1971 when the gold standard was exited in this country under the Nixon administration to now 2024, gold is going through the roof consistently, decade by decade by decade. And with the BRICS nations, with Saudi Arabia, thank God they're going to invest $6 billion in the United States, or 22 days in the new administration. Just an amazing deal. They started not using the U.S. petrodollars. That was part of the 50-year deal post the gold standard, but now instead trading with the Chinese yen. So all these challenges, to sum this up, you need to scan that QR code because you might have properties, assets, 401k, IRA, all diversifying those beautiful savings that you have to send kids to college or even for your own retirement. But why not go through this no obligation gold guide to figure out where you can help yourself some more, and especially for those you most love in your life.
Exactly. So we see the White House there live right now on the left side of your screen, monitoring other live feeds happening throughout the country. Just off a few days of I hate to bring up the Super Bowl, but the Eagles, of course, winning that. But here's the thing I'm seeing. Will the Eagles show up at the White House when it's, you know, the president and the championship teams? I'm seeing some reports that it's a team decision. Will they show up? They better show up. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, you have other hockey teams or basketball teams or whoever. You know, that's tough. You know, it really is tough because at the end of the day, this is a uniting commander-in-chief.
Right.
We see people from all walks of life, and Robert and I have seen it at every rally we've covered.
Oh, yes.
As for those of you, of course, that know Christina Loren, Megan Kohler, and others, we've all interviewed people from all walks of life. People that look like us, people that don't look like us. It doesn't matter. And it's just great to see all of these people supporting President Trump. And it's like, you know, if the Eagles, I think they have to show up to the White House. Come on, guys. You know, go to the. I'm not saying they're not going to. It's a team decision. It's still a fluid situation. A number of people, the Eagles, want to go. Some don't. But at the end of the day, I'm glad the Eagles won because I'm from Pennsylvania. But anyway, what do you think about just the fact that, you know, just having a sports situation and usually the president congratulates the sports championship team.
Well, and he loves it so much. I mean, he's a big sports fan, but he loves football especially. And he was at the game, too, the first sitting president to attend. So I think for the country that would be special. And, you know, with Jalen Hurts having such a great following, and he's been very open about his faith as well. So a great leader of that team. I hope they come to the consensus to visit. You've been invited, and regardless, I think, of political beliefs or backgrounds, you should really go to the White House when invited by the president. Kind of makes sense, especially for something so unifying. And I mean, even meeting last night with the Auburn young professionals, we actually visited the Jordan Hare Stadium, actually where they bring the recruits for the family talk about, hey, you want to come play football here? And you get to see the Heisman photos. It was about family, integrity, tradition, War Eagle. And I got the tour of the locker room. I walked out on the field. It was really cool. I was kind of nerding out on that because I'm a big football fan, as you are. So I'm hoping the Eagles take advantage of what's truly America's game. It just makes a lot of sense. And I mean, goodness gracious, look at the Florida Panthers had so much fun with President Trump, a great hockey team from the Sunshine State Stanley Cup champions who were recently visiting the White House.
Definitely. And I know a lot of basketball, hockey, baseball fans out there, football fans. It's great to kind of get back into that rhythm of enjoying some sports again without the thought of, are my constitutional rights going to be taken because I said something on X? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, it's good to see that we have pro-free speech, and it's awesome as well because it's all about, you know, you could say what you want, but obviously there are legal ramifications if you're saying something that is violent or something that's inciting things.
Right.
You have to kind of watch that there, but you have to watch that. But it's just nice to have more of just that peace kind of feeling in this country right now, and hopefully it will grow and continue to grow. And we know we've got the right guy in office to get the job done. So it's 1:35. It looks like what we're going to do here is stay with you for the next few minutes as we see any developments there at the White House. If we don't, we will be concluding the broadcast, but you can always stay with us on Truth Social and on X and on our website, that kind of thing. A lot of followers on X and Truth Social right now, more than 1 million on both.
No, it's been fantastic, and thank you for doing that. And whatever is your favorite social media, please like, share, and subscribe to the network. And you can also get linked into not only the application on your smartphone, which is simply RSBN. You see that symbol there. It's hard to miss if you look at in the App Store. But how about the newsletter? rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Always great to subscribe to for the most recent updates. And they pop right up on your phone and into your email inbox. So a great way to keep up with the great writers here at the network too. We have a handful of a great writing team as well who just do some great work, and even President Trump has shouted out many of them, and a couple of them are actually in the administration now. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's great to see that, and it was great to see that shout out a few times from the president at various rallies. And then, you know what I liked as well is that the crowd would cheer too, because a lot of you guys at all of these rallies over the years, know who Right Side Broadcasting Network is. And we've been reading the comments too. Thank you guys so much for the nice comments that you've been sharing about the network and about the coverage we've been up to here. This is, at the end of the day, common sense and very transparent reporting. Obviously, you'll hear some op-eds, right? Opinion, editorial, but it's all based in common sense of the Constitution here. Also, America First news that's happening inside the Beltway, outside the Beltway, breaking news, all sorts of stuff. We've got it covered here at Right Side. So, so we have a few minutes left before we end the broadcast. But here, at the end of the day, if we do see a live feed, we will shift gears right away and go to that as well. Where can people follow you on Truth? Because you were saying, I think you're going to post the Jordan Hare Stadium video. That'd be kind of cool if you posted that.
Yeah, I might have to show that because it's cool to see in the off season. Now the lights are off, so but they are building a new scoreboard here, and already Auburn has the biggest scoreboard in college football.
Is that true?
In sports,
yes. I mean, it's a great scoreboard. I've seen it. Yeah,
it is.
It's
and
awesome.
You talk about a stadium, a max capacity of slightly over 88,000. I mean, it's fun. So I was kind of imagining that Texas A&M game that I know you went to, where the students actually stormed the grounds, which was really rather fun to see. Everyone was safe, but it's quite a sight to see when that does happen. An intimidating place if you are an adversary, the visitor, but always, though, the most gracious people here in the friendliest village in the land. Truly, everyone will give you that southern hospitality when you come to visit, especially from another school. But please feel free to follow me at Truth, at Robert B. McNeely. And that is, the Truth Social account. I have that almost coming on to my 3rd anniversary, February 15th. I was one of the first there because I was fortunate enough to help launch that beautiful app, and that was quite a journey to fight for free speech online. I mean, just a few years ago, we were all canceled, and we fought back, and this president fought back to defend the Bill of Rights. You can also find me over on Instagram, Robert McNeely TV. Please like, share, and subscribe what we post, and feel free to reach out and message us there.
Exactly. And if you'd like to follow me on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. Also, those of you watching on Truth Social TV right now, hello to you. Specifically, let's go over to Rumble as well. I mean, at the end of the day, we know a lot of people watch us on Rumble. What a great, great site to watch. Right Side Broadcasting Network. And those of you watching on other platforms, hello to you. So glad you're with us. Let's talk about President Trump real quick on Truth Social. Just about 3 hours ago saying, quote, he says Doge with the colon there, and says billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse being found. Campaign promise important for America. It's what he's doing, and it's. I think the whole tip of the iceberg situation. That's what we're seeing right now.
Oh yes.
We're seeing that. Oh wow, look at this, and then you're going into that water, and you're like, oh, there's a lot more down there.
Right. No, it's really. I think he will continue to uncover more and more, and with the great leadership of Elon Musk, which has really been extraordinary. He said on Sunday during his interview before the Super Bowl, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he gets things done. Of course I trust him because he has really, in so many ways, everything to lose, but he's willing to do this to help save the American ethos. And this was something that was really big for Musk. I mean, this is someone who came in on, I believe, an H-1B visa. He was someone who really came to love America through his immigrating to here from South Africa and living his version of the American dream, but someone who was actually a registered Democrat for a long time. And he came to the Trump campaign to MAGA because of common sense and wanting to save our American way of life.
It's so true. And he was just, he's posting a lot right now on X, and I don't even want to say what his name now is.
I know, it's,
and then all that, but it's
a comedian in his own right.
Elon, yeah, and so is President Trump. That's what we like about President Trump, that he can be so powerful and such a leader, but then still make you laugh while doing it. So, all right, so that's the White House, of course, there, the West Wing. So possibly we may be seeing the departure of the Jordanian king and the crown prince there. I mean, that's the vehicle they pulled up in. We're seeing a live picture of the door open. So we'll hang tight with that here, as you can always count on us at RSBN Live. Of course, whether it's later today, if there's breaking news, or even tomorrow, we'll be back at it as we continue to bring you live coverage, America First, breaking news, and other news. Let's go to this live picture right now, just in case this is the Jordanian king.
Very quick. Watch my camera.
Make me happy. Slow start on.
Hey, sorry.
How about that?
Well, as you can see, there's some beautiful snow falling outside the White House and in the Washington, D.C. area. Also, some breaking news according to Dan Scavino Jr. and also the White House Communications Office in regards to an American being set free from the hands of Russia. I have the specifics here. We're going to go over it and let you know what we're just learning. So today, President Donald Trump and his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, were able to announce that Mr. Witkoff is leaving Russian airspace with Mark Fogel, an American who was detained by Russia. President Trump, Steve Witkoff, and the president's advisors negotiated an exchange that serves as a show of good faith from the Russians and a sign we are moving in the right direction to end the brutal and terrible war in Ukraine. Since President Trump's swearing in, he has successfully secured the release of Americans detained around the world, and President Trump will continue until all Americans being held are returned to the United States. By tonight, Mark Fogel will be on American soil and reunited with his family and loved ones, thanks to President Trump's leadership. What we're reading about Mark, of course, if you start looking on DuckDuckGo and Google, is an American school teacher who was arrested in August of 2021 by Russian authorities for trying to enter Russia with 0.6 ounces of medical marijuana. So in June 2022, he was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Fogel is from Pennsylvania. He attended IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and he was a history teacher at international schools in Colombia, Malaysia, Oman, Mexico, and Venezuela. He had lived and worked in Russia since 2012, teaching at the Anglo-American School of Moscow. Okay, so that's some information on Mark Fogel, the person that is now released by Americans, Steve Witkoff and President Trump, of course, getting that taken care of. So that's some breaking news just sent to us, and also Dan Scavino Jr. posting on it as well.
Wow, that's fantastic news to have him coming back home finally. And, you know, sadly, another failure by the Biden administration to secure the release of a hostage, someone who should have never been there in the first place. But glad that he can get his life back together, and someone who really has a glowing background, a great career, and should have never been held by Russia. But, you know, not too late to right a wrong, and President Trump doing that.
Exactly. And then, of course, if you look at Ukraine and Russia, President Trump sending his Treasury Secretary there to meet with the Ukrainian President, Vladimir Zelensky, of course, to see if they can get this thing taken care of, hopefully as soon as possible.
Right.
Of course, President Trump, that's one of the pledges that he spoke about, that he would get it done. So we're seeing that in progress right now. Let's go back live to the White House.
Yes,
and
we'll see if we can see the... oh, great. We'll go back there in about a minute here. But, of course, expecting the departure of King Abdullah II of Jordan and the Crown Prince as well, as they seem to have a very strong bilateral meeting with President Trump in the West Wing, and then enjoying some lunch together. But we'll go back live to now a snowy Washington, D.C. in the West Wing of the White House.
How can you be ready when you're on your phone?
David, when I get tired of maybe do something and I start doing something else, the thing I've been tired of happens. It's a life hack.
not going to use it, so you can sit there. I'm not going to go over there. Nah. Micah, we're ready. We're ready. Yeah.
Tell someone who cares.
Why would you stand like that? Tell me what she's changed so much now. I remember when she was just don't worry, we're actually say something bad.
banquet here at the White House.
All right, just a couple minutes after the top of the hour as the Jordanian king and the crown prince finish up meeting with President Trump. Of course, there was a bilateral meeting and also lunch there. And before, if you missed it, in the Oval Office, there was quite a meeting there as well with some Q&A with the reporters.
I think the biggest news of this is that 2,000 medically sick children from the Gaza Strip will be going to Jordan. The kingdom will be inheriting them on seemingly a refugee type status. And that was news to President Trump, and great that that broke while in the bilateral meeting. And of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was present for this, as well as some of the Jordanian delegation. So what was just considered last week as a new announcement looks like it's already getting some wind in its sails. I'm very excited to see the next meetings with Riyadh, Egypt, and how the Egyptians will address this matter.
Exactly. So it is taking shape. We're going to see how it all comes together. And that's exactly what basically the Jordanian king was saying, as they're not trying to get ahead of themselves with specifics. But President Trump did say, you know, a parcel of land in Jordan, a parcel of land in Egypt, you know, working out options. And that's, I think, is a common sense thing to do. We want to hear from a leader like that and to hear what kind of options are you talking about. So many times there's something like, oh, it's under investigation, or, you know, we'll get to that in a bit. No, he actually shares those options, which is pretty cool to hear what he's actually thinking.
Right, exactly. And this is someone who really has been in the thick of it. I'm actually curious to know how long His Majesty and President Trump have known one another. I'm sure that they've met years ago since he inherited the throne in 1999. So someone who's been really on the front row of history, seeing what's happened in that region, how things have changed with the ebbs and flows and the differences between the Shia and Sunni over these years, but someone who clearly is committed to peace, and someone who has been targeted by Al-Qaeda and ISIS and has taken the fight to them as a fighter pilot, leading his people to prosperity and common goals. And the king also reflecting what President Trump wants most for the region: peace and prosperity for all peoples.
Exactly. If you're just joining us and you missed the Oval Office meeting between the Jordanian king and President Trump, along with the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, you're in luck, because here it is.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to have King Abdullah with us. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, actually, long before even my first term. And we've had a great relationship. He's a great gentleman, a great leader, and does a fantastic job in his country. His son, we're lucky enough to have his handsome son with us today, so it's good to see you again. We've had some quick discussions just now, and we're going to have some longer discussions after this. And the relationship with Jordan has been very strong, has been with me, and it really has been with the country. But I think I've been closer than other presidents to Jordan and what Jordan represents. And it's an honor to have you and your son with us today. And if you'd like to say a few words, and thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for having us, and so short after your inauguration. I think just as a testament to what you said is a special relationship between our two countries, and the personal relationship of friendship and trust between the two of us. Mr. President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here, and as you said, sir, we've got some very interesting discussions ahead of us.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, many people in the region, especially Jordan, are worried about the annexation of the West Bank. Will you give His Majesty the King guarantee that you won't allow Israel to annex the West Bank? And how are you going to
I think that's going to work out very well. That's not really what we're talking about today. I think that's something that's going to work out automatically, and it's in good shape. And we discuss it, and other people have discussed it with us and with me. That's going to work out. West Bank is going to work out very well.
Mr. President, why should the king take in the Palestinian people? He's made clear he doesn't want to.
Well, I don't know, but he may have just something to say, because we discussed just briefly. I think maybe you want to say it now, or?
Well, Mr. President, I think we have to keep in mind that there is a plan from Egypt and the Arab countries. We're being invited by Mohammed bin Salman to discussions in Riyadh. I think the point is how do we make this work in a way that is good for everybody? Right. Obviously, we have to look at the best interests of the United States, of the people in the region, especially to my people of Jordan. And we're going to have some interesting discussions today. I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible. and then wait for, I think, the Egyptians to present their plan on how we can work with the president to work on the Gaza challenges.
So
I want to tell you, excuse me, wait, just please. I didn't know that, what you just said, 2,000 children with cancer or other problems, and that's really a beautiful gesture. That's really good, and we appreciate it. And we'll be working on the rest with Egypt. I think you're going to see some great progress. I think with Jordan, you're going to see some great progress. Three of us, and we'll have some others helping, and we're going to have some others at a very high level helping, and the whole thing will come. It's not a complex thing to do. And with the United States being in control of that piece of land, a fairly large piece of land, you're going to have stability in the Middle East for the first time. And the Palestinians, or the people that live now in Gaza, will be living beautifully in another location. They're going to be living safely. They're not going to be killed, murdered, and having to leave every 10 years, because I've been watching this for so many years. It's nothing but trouble. Everyone's being killed. They're being robbed. It's like living in hell. And they're going to end up having a great home, great families that don't have to get mugged and killed and beaten up and harassed by Hamas and everybody else. And I know we'll be able to work something. And what you just said about the 2,000 is fantastic. It's so beautiful. It's music to my ears. But we're going to be able to work something, and I know we'll be able to work something also with I believe, not 100%, but 99%. We're going to work out something with Egypt.
But Mr. President, during your election campaign, Mr. President, how is the U.S. going to own Gaza? Your White House has made clear taxpayer dollars won't be used for this. So what money are you going to use to buy Gaza?
We're not going to buy anything. We're going to have it. We're going to keep it, and we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace, and there's not going to be any problem, and nobody's going to question it. And we're going to run it very properly, and eventually we'll have economic development at a very large scale, maybe the largest scale on that site. And we'll have lots of good things built there, including hotels and office buildings and housing and other things. And we'll make that site into what it should be. And the people from Gaza who wouldn't be able to be there for years, because you're talking about just to get it and prepare it and to take care of all of the problems that currently it has, as you know, tunnels, and people are in those tunnels, and you have some good people and some bad people, and you may have hostages right now. You know, you have the hostages possibly there. They don't know where they are. And, you know, I have a Saturday deadline, and I don't think they're going to make the deadline personally. I think they want to play tough guy, but we'll see how tough they are. But it's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to be wonderful for the Middle East. I think it'll turn the Middle East. I think you're going to have peace in the Middle East. You're going to eventually have peace in the Middle East.
Couldn't this deadline risk undermining the talks that you're having with the King today, and risk the kind of wider peace that you're trying to?
Because we're not talking about a big situation. We're talking about something that can go very quickly. We're talking about it's going to go quickly. It's not going to take a long time, okay? That's not going to take a long time. You know bullies? You know what a bully is, right? You know the bully, I've always, and I found it throughout my life, a bully is the weakest person. And they're bullies. Hamas is bullies. The weakest people are bullies. You know that, right? All right, go ahead.
Mr. President, you were saying that Palestinians will live somewhere else safe. Where exactly do you want them to live?
Well, it's not where I want them to live. It's going to be where we ultimately choose as a group. And I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Jordan. I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Egypt. We may have someplace else, but I think when we finish our talks, we'll have a place where they're going to live very happily and very safely. And, you know, don't forget, they only want to be on the Gaza Strip because they don't know anything else. They never had an alternative. And they don't want to be on the Gaza Strip, but they have no choice. They have to be. And they're being killed there at levels that nobody's ever seen. No place in the world is as dangerous as the Gaza Strip. They don't want to be there. They have no alternative. When they have no alternative, not one person will want to stay where they are. Nobody wants to stay there. They're living in hell. It's a death trap.
Mr. President, how do you know that the Palestinians don't want to leave their land? Some people say this is ethnic cleansing. You won't be able to force them to leave the land. They stay
We're moving
there.
them to a beautiful location where they have new homes, where they can live safely, where they'll have
You won't
doctors
leave,
and
sir.
medical and all of those things, and I think it's going to be great. Yeah, any questions?
King Abdullah, what do you think about the U.S. taking over the Gaza Strip? Do you want to see the U.S. own the Gaza Strip?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, the president is looking at Egypt coming to present their plan. As I said, we will be in Saudi Arabia to discuss how we can work with the president and with the United States. So I think let's wait until the Egyptians can come and present to the president and not get ahead of ourselves.
And is there a parcel of land in Jordan that you're willing to have Palestinians?
Well, I think what we said, I have to look at the best interests of my country. I think the president is very happy that we do this thing with 2,000 children as quickly as possible. And again, I believe that the president is looking forward to getting a group of us Arabs here to discuss the overall plan.
And last question, the 2,000 children, are those from the Gaza Strip?
Absolutely, from the Gaza
Are
Strip.
you willing to change your mind, Mr.
That's
President?
from the Gaza Strip, the 2,000.
Are you willing to change your mind if you hear the Egyptian and the Arab plan end of the month? If they present you something different, are you open to
I
another
think
plan?
we sort of have gone down the line. We know pretty much what is going to be presented. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be magnificent for the Palestinians. They're going to be in love with it. I did very well with real estate. I can tell you about real estate. They're going to be in love with it.
But Mr. President, doesn't concern you that moving 2 million people from there?
It's a very small number of people relative to other things that have taken place over the decades and centuries. It's a very small number of people, and they're living a terrible life. Look at the way they're living now. Nobody's living like that in the entire world. They're living under buildings that are mostly fallen down and will continue to fall down. And they're living under. People are being killed every day. The conditions are horrible. There are no conditions anywhere in the world that are worse than the Gaza Strip right now.
But don't you have concern that you can destabilize Jordan and
You said all
Egypt?
hell will break out if all the hostages are not released on Saturday. What did you mean by that? And are you encouraging Netanyahu to walk away from this deal? Have you talked about this with him?
So I've looked at at the condition of people coming out of the hostage situation, and it's horrible. I looked at the before and after yesterday. 3 young men. One is dead now, as you know. The older gentleman who died, which everybody said he was alive and well, he's dead. But the 3 young men, and I looked at them from a short while ago, and I looked at them now. They're emaciated. They look like Holocaust survivors. They looked. I mean, they'll get better, but they're in rough shape. They were treated really badly, and we've heard things from them since. And I think the reason that Hamas is playing so cute is because they saw the reaction to these 3 people that came out, and the other was, look, the one young lady had her hand blown off practically, and they were not in great shape either. But she's missing her fingers and a big part of her hand. You know what she did? She was stopping a bullet that was aimed at her. She went like that, and it blew off her hand. No, I think I think they want time, because I think the people that they have living are in such bad shape, because they're sending the most healthy people out because they don't want to send the least healthy people out. And there was an uproar when they saw the people from yesterday. So these people are, so I don't want to do 2 and then we do another 2 in another week and then we do 4 in 3 weeks. No. They either have them out by Saturday at 12 o'clock or all bets are off.
Mr. President, would you still consider withholding aid to those countries if they don't accept your plans to accept?
Well, I don't want to say that because we've had such a good relationship and we're doing so well just in the short time that we've been talking. I mean, the king just made a statement. I didn't ask him to do that, about literally saving 2,000 young children from the Gaza Strip. We didn't know about that. You didn't know about that. Nobody did except for the king and his son. I assume you told your son, right? And I just thought it was great. No, I think we'll do something. I don't have to threaten with money. We contribute a lot of money to Jordan and to Egypt, by the way, a lot, to both. But I don't have to threaten that. I think we're above that. I do believe we're above that. So.
Would you consider other countries, not Jordan and Egypt? There was talks about Indonesia, Albania, other places.
Yeah, sure, we would. And we have other countries that want to get involved. We have a lot of people that want to get involved. There's a great sense of wanting to help the Palestinians. There's a lot of good countries out there, people that rule those countries with big hearts, and this gentleman is at the top of the list.
And if they don't want to leave, how are you going to force them, Mr. President?
Oh, they're going to be great. They're going to be very happy.
Can you Your Majesty, should we expect that the Jordanian response would be part of a coordinated Arab response?
The response will be from a multitude of countries, Arab, international. I know the Europeans want to step in. And again, we'll probably have to look to the help of the United States to make sure that COGAT, which is the clearing agency on the Israeli side, makes this as efficient as possible, because 2,000 kids, the best way to get to them is by helicopters and get them straight to our institutions. And I also believe that quite a few countries would also probably like to take some of those kids and have them treated in their hospitals. So we hope to launch this ASAP.
Yes, and that's right. This should have been done by the Biden administration, but, you know, they didn't do anything. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. So this should have been done by the Biden administration. This should have never happened, because October 7th would have never happened. If I were president, zero chance of happening. You wouldn't have had that whole mess where the Middle East got blown up, and you wouldn't have had Ukraine and Russia fighting. That would have never happened. And by the way, we're making good progress there, I think. I really think we're making some very good progress.
Mr. President, you said before that the U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What does that mean?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it. We're going to get it going eventually, where a lot of jobs are going to be created for the people in the Middle East. It's going to be for the people in the Middle East, but I think it can be a diamond. It can be an absolute tremendous asset for the Middle East, and you're going to have peace. It's going to bring peace in the Middle East. Gaza, the way it is right now, every 10 years you're going to have the same thing happening. I've watched it so long, all the death and destruction of Gaza. The civilization's been wiped out in Gaza. No, it's going to be a tremendous thing. It's fronting on the sea. It's going to be a great economic development job. It's going to put people to work, a lot of people to work, and those people are all going to be from the Middle East.
And just to follow up with one on that for King Abdullah, can you clarify again, sir, how do you feel about the U.S. taking Gaza, as the president said?
Well, again, this is something that we, as Arabs, will be coming to the United States with something that we're going to talk about later to discuss all these options.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
And Mr. President, would you seek to personally develop property in Gaza after this happens?
No, I've had a great career in real estate.
Mr. President,
you know, when you've done what I've done in the last number of years, including the 4 years that we should have been doing something else, frankly, because people see that now for sure. But when you've done what I've done, you can just do more good for people when you're president. When you're president, we can do things. This is all things that should have been done, but actually things that shouldn't have had to be done. Gaza, absolutely, it would have been so great if the Biden administration would have started this. But actually, in all fairness to them, they should have never let it happen. It did happen, and because of the fact that they let this happen, this catastrophe of October 7th, something like this becomes practical and very real, meaning the development and all of the things that I've talked about with respect to the Gaza Strip. If you didn't have the October 7th catastrophe, and it was a horrible catastrophe, then probably you wouldn't be talking about that. But the only thing I can say is this is going to bring stability and peace to the Middle East. And ultimately, when it's developed, which will be in quite a while from now, because we want to let things calm down. But when it's developed, it's going to bring tremendous numbers of jobs to the Middle East, including the people of your country.
Mr. President, what if it does not bring peace to the Middle East? There are many Palestinians, even though you say that everything is going to be beautiful, everything is going to be lovely, they're not going to want to go back. There are going to be people who want to go back and feel like that it is their right to do that. You haven't said, will there be any type of repercussions or anything that happens?
We don't think that's going to happen. We think we think people are going to be very happy, thrilled. A lot of those people that you're talking about are going to end up maybe living there and maybe working there, but it'll be in a different form. We have had tremendous support for this project, and we think the biggest asset of the project is going to bring peace ultimately to the Middle East. All right.
Mr. President, one last question.
Go ahead, behind you, and you've asked enough.
Mr. President, one of your promises on the campaign trail is to bring peace to the Middle East. It was a promise to your voters, Arab voters here. The Arab voters in the United States oppose this. What do you say to them?
Well, you know, if you look at Michigan, where we have a large Arab population, as you know, I was just telling the King that we won. As you know, I won the Arab population. Now, when I started off, I wasn't leading, and when I finished, a few months later, we started campaigning in Michigan. And when I finished, we won it by a tremendous amount, by 30 points. My relationship with the Arab population has been fantastic, and my relationship with the Middle East is very good with all the countries, just about all the countries. Let's see, I would say all the countries. And they all want to do something, and they want to see peace in the Middle East. All the stories you hear about the Middle East not really wanting peace, that they want war, they want this, they want to go a certain place. Let me tell you, those stories are false. They want to have peace. I know them all very well. They want to have peace. They want to have a good life like other people. And this will be a big factor in bringing peace to the Middle East. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Let's go, press. Guys, let's go. Press, let's go. Thank you. Come on, guys, quickly, please.
Thank you.
Guys, let's go. Come on, quickly.
We're moving out this way.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Come on, guys.
Out this way.
Quickly, please.
Right here.
Quickly, guys. Thank you.
Moving. Thank you. Thank you.
Come on, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Go.
Here we go. Let's go. David, let's go. David, come on, guys. Let's go.
Guys, quickly. Come on.
Well, it's 2:25 Eastern Time. Watching a replay there of what happened just a few hours ago. Even less than that, of course, the king there, and then President Trump speaking about a lot of various things, including the 2,000 medically sick children being taken to Jordan from Gaza. So that news today, of course, as you're seeing a live look there at the beautiful White House and some beautiful white snow as well.
Yeah, so be careful the next few days. We know there's a big winter storm in the Midwest and also hitting some of the Northeast as well, including Washington, D.C. We're getting some rain down here in the Southeast as well as some flash flood opportunities. So that's just the way it goes. It's this time of year, you know, for North and South to have some goofy weather when it all gets mixed in with the different forecasts. But that's Christina's expertise, so I'll let her do that.
Definitely. We'll have to bring RSBN's Christina Loren back live. She was live yesterday, did a mini weather hit, as they call it, and it was pretty cool to see that. As you're seeing that storm starting there in Washington, D.C. Before we get to our great sponsors, we're seeing some breaking news. Florida's Anna Paulina announces new congressional committee that will declassify government secrets, namely JFK, RFK, and MLK assassinations, Epstein files, UFOs, 9/11, COVID. Anna is a veteran and will be the chairwoman there. I saw that with DC Drano also giving credit to Fox for that story, but that's quite interesting.
Oh, it'll be fantastic. And she is an absolute warrior, one of the finest in the Freedom Caucus, ready to, yes, just let the government tell you the truth. That's the mission of the MAGA folks, and she is as true blue as it gets and a true fighter. So we're excited to see her lead a wonderful new committee.
All right, let's thank some sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group is the first one. All you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com. Freegoldguide.com. For more information, you'll get this info kit all about gold and silver, a great backup plan to the U.S. dollar, even though looking forward to seeing Maganomics continue to kick into high gear.
And how about that Republican red as well? Not only securing your financial savings, but toasting to the future that is MAGA, especially the beautiful toast on the back of these wine bottles. We've taken the House, the Senate, put the champion back in the White House. Now let's toast to MAGA and the American patriotism. Let's raise that red glass up to the sky. The best is yet to come. And thank you to Republican Red. And code RSBN for a discount.
Wine for the right side, as you see there on your screen. Absolutely. As we get to the bottom of the hour, but we want to thank Tax Network USA as well, 800-357-1415. The great website, tnusa.com/RSBN. If you're looking to settle back taxes, this is the group that will help you get it done. Let's shift over to American Financing as well.
Yes, a wonderful organization to make sure that you can beat these mortgage costs. They cost so much for so many people, really across the country. And what an awesome way to save nearly $1,600 the next 2 months. If you call them for a no obligation 10-minute phone call, the experts over at American Financing can possibly delay the next 2 months of coverage, and Americans still have those kitchen table problems. So a lot of us are carrying really high credit card debt and imbalances over 20% and more. So these consultants really know how to help you out. So give them a call today. It's American Financing at 888-402-0299. That's 888-402-0299. AmericanFinancing.net/RSBN.
All right, so let's move on now to Byrna. Byrna is a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, a less lethal launcher. As you see right there on the left side of your screen, it's not classified as a firearm. There's no background checks, as you see there. And more than 25,000 five-star reviews. They have sold a lot of these products. These are great, less lethal products, kinetic rounds, chemical rounds that include tear gas. I mean, there's a lot of information there. So all you have to do is go to Byrna.com/RSBN for a discount. This is definitely something that a lot of people are purchasing out there.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because wherever you're living and the jurisdiction you're in, it could be a crime to defend yourself, which is crazy to think about nowadays. But as we highlight on the show today and other days, you have rogue DAs out there and states attorneys who take the law into their own hands. So when you're defending yourself and using your Second Amendment rights, not necessarily everyone elected in government believes the same way, but sadly have power. So Byrna.com, a great alternative to deadly force and a wonderful way to incapacitate those attackers for up to 30 minutes. And you were saying, Matthew, too, earlier that it's the piercing of the CO2 case only happens when the shot is actually fired.
Exactly.
So that's really a new technology, pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and that's a patent technology that Byrna has. The other competitors, they just don't have that. The other ones, you have to make a hole with the canister. You have to hit it on the ground or something like that. And this one here, you just have to pull the trigger and it takes care of business there for you. So again, about 5% of law enforcement actually have Byrnas as well. And the company is very pro 2A. I mean, they have firearms, but this being a less lethal option, a great pick there. So Byrna.com/RSBN. Let's shift gears over to MyPillow.com. The mega sale is coming at you in 3, 2, 1, and there it is.
Oh, here we go.
30% off the My Cross and, of course, the My Towels and the flannel sheets. I mean, there's all great products on there.
Oh, yes, over 2,000 products to choose from. MyPillow.com/RSBN for up to 80% off. And Mr. Mike Lindell, a wonderful supporter of not only the First Amendment and election integrity, but our founding documents and the right side of history. So it's wonderful to support such a jovial, excellent human being. I mean, he is just the best guy with the best staff as well. They've always been so helpful. And, they're headquartered in beautiful Minnesota, so it makes sense. Buy American, sell American, and they take some of the best things from around the world. Those Giza Dream Sheets, truly amazing, from the Nile. I mean, pretty amazing stuff. You will sleep like a baby and be ready for the next day with anything MyPillow. So visit them over at MyPillow.com/RSBN.
Governor Mike Lindell of Minnesota.
Let's make it happen.
We'll see what happens there. RSBN donate. If you'd like to donate to us, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So it's just RSBN to 801-801. Of course, we have a newsletter as well, RSBN Network. So rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. America First updates and a lot of information about live events, that kind of thing. as we'll continue to be live here at Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Yes, it is really a wonderful thing to do. Thank you for all of your support over the years, and the best way to do that is like, share, and subscribe on your favorite social media network. But if you can donate, texting that RSBN to 801-801, hugely helpful. And of course, don't miss a minute of the action. rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. We have a heck of a team of writers as well. If you'd like the written form, or you can't catch the stream during the day, which we hope you do because we love to see you. But at the same time, sometimes you have to read out those articles, or if you're waiting in the doctor's office, what have you. It's a perfect thing to do. rsbnetwork.com/newsletter.
Can you believe we saw snow in the southeast? Those of you that live in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and parts of Florida, just about a week and a half ago, that snowstorm that came through, and now the weather's back up in the 60s and 70s. Right. But there you go, another snowstorm up in the northeast and Washington, D.C. Kind of a beautiful scene, actually.
Yeah, it really is. Is it beautiful as it is terrifying at times? I don't know how I spared doing it for so many years, but better to be down south.
Yeah, definitely. This guy from Chicago, I'm from Pennsylvania, so yeah, my wife and I, we had to trek through a lot of these kind of roads and that kind of thing. It's always good to have front-wheel drive, or of course four-wheel drive. The rear wheel, not so much, as you guys know.
It doesn't work as well. So
it definitely doesn't.
Yeah, I'm glad they changed that. Seemingly, it seems more that you can find the all-wheel or front wheel versus rear now. But
exactly. I used to drive a Ford Thunderbird 1988 5.0 V8 engine. I feel like Tim Allen, whatever. But it was a rear-wheel drive. It was awful in the snow. Anyway, so what we're going to do here is, this is RSBN Live, right? So anytime there's breaking news, right, especially inside the Beltway or outside the Beltway, we'll bring you that live coverage, whether it's right here on the channel or if it's on social media, we'll give you any updates as we see them. So for Robert McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Have a great night.
Have a great night, and we'll see you if there's any breaking news, and if not, we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.